Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
K-Man's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Blake and Aaron. How are you guys doing today? Happy Thursday.
Yeah. What do you got for us this morning? What's in the headlines?
Yeah.
Okay, so first up, we have an announcement that Chief Officer Jennifer Ahern has been moved from her previous ministry, which was the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resilience. Allegations that this is a political move. Yes, so we'll see how that pans out for the current government. She's been in her current role since 2021, since a new government went in. And most interestingly enough, she's kind of like the government point person for the Regen Waste Management project. So as you guys know, this is a pretty massive project covering, several decades, I think, in terms of the entire project. And they're trying to get it kicked off for a 2027 deployment. But these constant changes, could mean unnecessary delays. So we'll see. All right, so yesterday, the Grand Court of the Cayman Islands had its official opening. Every year they do this. It's ceremonial, but it's also an opportunity for the community at large and the judiciary, different sectors of the judiciary to find out more about what the courts have been up to. So the DPP's office, for example, gives a report. The Attorney General gives his report. The Bar Association gives their report. And then, of course, the Chief Justice speaks as well. So this would be her first grand opening where she's had like an entire year. Because remember, she got in a few months, I think, before the last one, right? So she gave a report about all the things that they have been doing, what they're planning on doing, and also saying to the government that it's time to modernize the courthouse and they need new and better facilities. So we're going to take a deep dive into that a little bit later on in the program. In police news, they have reported that shots are fired through a window of a Bodden Town residence. Yeah, pretty crazy. So they have indicated, last couple nights seems like a lot's been going on, but I was
going to say what happened. Like there was that, and then there was that issue at around Vine and Tap.
Yeah, so that was December 23rd.
Okay.
So it's just that we're now just seeing the video. We had on Tuesday night a shooting incident in Windsor Park where a gentleman was injured but not life-threatening. Wow. And so he's in the hospital recovering. And then this one was early Wednesday morning, in the vicinity of Lower Valley residential area. So this is kind of crazy. But they're saying that it was reported that around 1 a.m., there was a noise that sounded like a gunshot. It woke up an occupant of the residence who was asleep at the time. And the occupant observed a bullet hole in his wall and ceiling of the bedroom where he's sleeping. Wow. Now, my unofficial sources have told me to connect the dots between illegal gambling and this incident. I'm just saying. Yes, mystery deepens. Okay. So BVI is calling for an emergency meeting of the overseas territories after the governor there is seeking additional powers. So they're in a hot mess of a situation. A little bit of regional news here. But yes, they are looking for the other OTs to maybe step up and help them. I'm not really sure, but the premier of their country, Dr. Natalia Wheatley, has requested an emergency Caribbean Overseas Territories caucus meeting after Governor John J. Rankin, interesting last name, requested additional powers from the UK government over BVI in order to make decisions in areas of governance normally devolved to the elected arm of government. And there have been some concerns there, including in 2020, the governor called for the suspension of the government after then Premier, you guys might remember this, Andrew Fahey was arrested in the U.S. on drug-related charges. Remember?
I remember that story.
Yes, all tying itself together. One final tidbit: pedestrian injured in a collision in Church Street. Thankfully, they're okay. But yes, they were just walking, minding their own business, and a vehicle somehow lost control. A Honda truck, one of those little pickup trucks.
Yeah.
And it lost control and collided with both her and a wall. Thankfully,
probably on the phone.
Yeah. Thankfully, non-life-threatening injuries. That's it. That's what I got for you today.
All right.
I got a little kicker for you.
Sure.
Since you don't have one,
I
Sandy.
know. Sorry, some days.
Have you guys heard that there's going to be an Olive Garden opening in Cayman?
No, what?
Have
But
you
this
heard
is round 2 for Olive Garden. I don't know how I feel about this.
Endless breadsticks.
I saw something on social media where there's a
Yes, they're
sign.
definitely coming, but
They are coming?
they've been here before.
Where is that location?
And they had to close down. You know what? Somebody told me yesterday, and I was trying to find out who's bringing it here. Hold
Or
on.
where though?
Hold on. Let me check my
Trying to figure out
messages.
where that sign was. It says coming
Somebody
soon,
said-
Olive Garden.
See, but we have so many good, like,
Hey, listen.
more authentic Italian restaurants.
I
know,
Like,
that's
I
what I'm
can see
thinking.
how it
Why
starts.
why is Olive Garden not authentic? It's
Oh, come on.
That's
the,
like fast food Italian.
the proprietor is Italian.
Mm.
Wrong
All
kind
those
of
recipes. Have you read about those recipes? They
Have
are.
I had
Yeah.
you sound like you have.
I'm a Olive Garden aficionado.
So now I know what
Oh
to
my
get you.
gosh,
The history
right?
of the Olive Garden.
Christmas present, Olive
Yep.
Garden gift certificates for Blake.
Right?
If I had no choice, though, I'd take another Outback.
Oh
steak,
my God, I
Lemon
said the
onion.
same thing yesterday.
Right?
Said that. I'm like, bring Outback back. I loved them.
I love
Seriously.
Outback.
All
I
right.
just like the blooming onions.
Have
Yeah,
a good
right,
one.
Sandy.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. How you guys doing? Let's kick off the show. Hello.
Sandra all the time is here with a cold heart true. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. So tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama to call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra. And they
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth telling, more problem solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you. All right, folks. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Yes. How's everybody going? Yes. Good morning. All right. Just sending out my I feel like I should call it wiki links, social links to everyone. Good morning. Happy Thursday, folks. Let me turn on my little camera so I can see you and you can see me. Where did I put my glasses? Oh, yeah, I got to get the glasses on here in a second. Honey child. I got to give y'all a joke. Many moons ago, I had LASIK surgery, where you don't have to wear glasses anymore. Oh, honey child. That was the best money I have ever spent. Like, in life, you spent some money here or there. I shouldn't say the best, but it's definitely in the top. Definitely in the top 10 for sure. And it's one of those things where not necessarily like super expensive, but it was so worth it. OMG. Oh, it was like a rebirth to be able to see without glasses was just amazing. I don't need them for close up. In fact, I can see the computer perfectly fine without them. But yes, honey child, my eyesight used to be so bad. I could even see the alarm clock next to me on the bedside. I was like all fuzzy. I'd be squinting like, what time does that say? I can't see it. And then I had it at Bascom Palmer, which is one of the best eye institutes in the world, definitely in the US. And, the pioneer of this procedure did mine. And I remember going back to the hotel. They put like steroid drops and stuff after the procedure, put cuts on it, say, go home, go to the hotel, go to bed. don't do anything, sleep, So in the morning when I got up now and I could take the cups off and put more drops in, I remember looking out the window and looking at the interstate, and it wasn't a blur. Like I could actually identify cars. I was like, whoa, this is so life changing. Like literally I could see. What an amazing thing. Oh my gosh. It was so nice to be able to go play tennis and not have to put on glasses. I actually have an allergy to metals. I'll tell you all about this. Not that you can be buying me any gifts or anything, but I don't wear costume jewelry for this exact same reason, because the alloy that's like in the metals, I have an allergic reaction to. So back in those days when plastic frames are easier to get and, they're not clunky and heavy. But back in those days, it was more like metal frames and stuff. This was like the 90s, mid 90s. No, this was the 2000s. What am I talking about? Oh, Lord, time's going. I was back in Caymans. This was 2000s. I was in law school. I think I was in my second year of law school. Anyway, so I would wear these metal glasses, and unfortunately, anywhere that they touched, they would erode my skin. So, when you put on your glasses, sometimes they're like touching you here. So they would erode my skin here on the sides. Like I was going bald on the sides here. And where else would they normally touch? Oh, the nose bridges, they would discolor and all kind of really weird stuff. So I was so tickled pink to not have to wear glasses. Like it really improved my quality of life. Nobody told me the procedure doesn't last forever, because I was like thinking, oh, I'm going to have bionic eyes now. But no, apparently it does not last forever. Oh, darn it. I was so happy, honey chill. But your eyes are one of those things that can and will and do shift throughout the course of your life. So yes, my darling. But that was, fantastic. But I was saying that to say this. Sometimes, you put down your glasses. You're like, where the heck did I put my glasses again? Sometimes you put them on top of your head. I don't tend to do that very often, but you don't even remember where you put them. So one of the very bizarre things, if you've worn glasses for a long time, you'll know this. Even when you don't have glasses on and say you're super tired, your brain forgets that you're not wearing them. So for probably a couple months after I had this procedure, especially at night when I was tired and going to bed, I would be like looking, like touching to take off my glasses. And of course, there was nothing there to put them on the bedside because I no longer wore glasses. But the brain is such an interesting organ, these need cleaning, that yes, sometimes it fools you into thinking. It's kind of like when you lose a limb. You guys have heard this, I'm sure. When people lose a limb, they still think the limb is there. It's a phantom limb or something they call it. But yes, their body, their brain tells them that the limb is still there. Very, very bizarre. All right. So let me see. Everybody got their links? All right, let's go ahead and get the show started today. So yesterday, you guys are aware that we had the Grand Court opening. We're going to go into some detail this morning. We've actually got a number of videos. I want to break it down for you guys and exactly what transpired there yesterday. I think for more reason than one, it is good to know what is happening with the judiciary. Now, I'm very, very aware, and I saw someone's comment saying, oh, we don't need no new courthouse, and that's a waste of money. Instead, put it in educating our children. Well, let's be very, very clear here, folks. There's nothing more important than educating your children. The primary role there is actually you, the parents. You can have the best institutions in the world, the best schools, the best buildings, and we could still be floundering and failing because the parents and homes don't have the support that they need and they're not doing the job that they need to be doing. Well, I can tell you that having all these expensive schools and offering scholarships and all this kind of stuff is going to be a bit of a waste of resources. Those things are available. I must tell you, more so than in most places. Caymanians are spoiled, entitled often, and often just love to complain. Y'all have had it too easy. Let me tell you, honey chill. And I speak as a Caymanian. and I look around and I see what's available. I see the resources. I see it all. And I'm going to say it again. Y'all spoil bad. Okay? Honey chill. Y'all get a lot of good stuff. Don't appreciate it. Don't take care of it. And you're still complaining that you need more. How much do y'all really need, honey? You know, but there has to be a balance. Honestly, I forgot to turn on my on-air sign. There has to be a balance, folks, between, you know, all the different demanding, you have a lot of different things demanding resources. And this is where a government needs to have, and governments generally need to have, a broader developmental plan. Because without that plan, y'all are just going to, you know, flounder and focus on one or two little areas, and that's it. We have a John Gray High School, which, by the way, in my opinion, is the nicest school, the nicest facility on this island right now. And I would still not send my child there. Let me be very clear, because the facility doesn't help with the behavioral issues that y'all have, right? So you got your little hoodlum children that you send to this school. You teach them no manners, no behavior. And it is the most amazing campus on this entire island. And that isn't going to make much of a difference at the end of the day if you can't get these behavioral issues under control. If children are afraid to go to school because they're going to get beaten up, ganged up on, and all this kind of stuff, you think it matters to a parent like me what that school looks like? I would rather homeschool my child than to send them to a beautiful school where they have no control over the children. And you don't know the day that your poor child is going to go in the locker room like that young man did a couple months ago and get the you-know-what beaten out of him, you know, where his eye is all bunged up and he could have easily hit his head on the shower stall or one of the pieces of furniture or whatever in that facility. And then I'm going to have to fight the Cayman Islands government because some idiot child has killed my child. Oh, honey child, I don't think so. That's not going to work. So let me be very clear. Prison needs resources. The judiciary needs resources. Education, well, this is the problem with education. Y'all are overspending, misspending, and still can't get it right. What was the projected spend? Can somebody tell me this? Because I don't have the exact figures. But I think John Gray High School went over budget by 50%. So you allocated $50 million for a school, and in the end, it ends up costing $100 million. And how many years later? That was like the project that we were all wondering, is it ever going to get done? Like, seriously? Hello. Years later, we all sitting there going, wow, that's like the project. By the time they finish that project, it'll be time for renovations on the school. That's what I was always thinking. Damn, like everything's getting rusted, stuff being exposed to the elements. And this is just typical government. I mean, I feel sorry for them, but they can't seem to manage themselves out of a wet paper bag. So I think it's important for people to educate themselves about what happens with these other arms and departments and agencies within government, because unfortunately there has to be a balance and you do need them all. So Leroy, I see your comment. I think you're responding to somebody else about we need trade schools, not courthouses. And that's where you're wrong. We need trade schools, but guess what? Do we not have trade schools? Tell me something. How many trade schools do y'all realistically think we need in the Cayman Islands? And anybody could challenge me on this? Because we have a lot of opportunities now for Caymanians, both locally and overseas, at no cost to them to get involved in a trade. I was just telling y'all about John Gray. They have the most amazing mechanical department and trade school TVET program. When I went in there, I was like, oh my God, y'all have real cars up in here? Listen, I went to high school back in the day in Tampa. 1,200 students graduated in my year alone. And we did not have no friggin' mechanic classroom that looked like that. Caymanians, first of all, you need to educate yourselves about what we even have, because it occurs to me that a lot of you do not know. You can go to Michael Miles School. The government is paying for you to go and get all of your HVAC qualifications. What's the name of his school again? All of these things are available. They pay 100% covered cost for people to go to the mechanic shop over by Superior Auto. And that program has been running for years. So it can't be the case that our young people don't have opportunities if they're interested in a trade school. What you have happening, Inspire came on, thank you. What you have happening is a lot of people who themselves don't want to do anything. And then when they don't want to do anything and they end up in the penal system, the argument is, well, if we had a trade school for them, please. The only trade that they wanted to learn is how to roll marijuana and how to smoke a blunt and how to shoot up somebody. And that goes back to the household. That goes back to parenting. Now, y'all parents don't want to take no responsibility. Everything is on the government. But I'm going to challenge you to look at the homes. You can predict. First grade teachers can predict with a 97% accuracy in the Cayman Islands. Go and read the, help me remember the name of this report again. The one that talked about recidivism and all this in the Cayman Islands. It'll come to me in a second, right? But you have first grade teachers that can look at the environment in which children are coming from and tell you with a 90% accuracy, thank you, the Yolanda Ford report. They can tell you with 97% accuracy which of those children is going to end up in the penal system. You think that has anything to do with offering them trade schools and trade options being made available? Go to UCCI, folks. All kind of trade schools available. By the way, not for nothing, but this new government, especially, and this Minister of Education, has refused to really give any money to UCCI. And yet, every other week, we're receiving a press release from UCCI about partnerships with other universities. If you want to do something, they will send you. They cover everything to go to, oh Lord, what is the place called again? New England. They just did a partnership with New England the other day. And you can go there and you can do all sorts of training and all sorts of courses. Free. Ask yourself how many Caymanians at UCCI are even jumping on the opportunity. I can tell you it's not as many as it should be. There are a lot of opportunities available for our people. Whether or not they're taking advantage of those opportunities is a whole different question. Like I said, Caymanians are spoiled. Y'all want something handed to you in a silver platter. You don't want to have to work with it. UCCI just partnered again with St. Leo. The truth is, you don't have no fire in your belly. I'm going to challenge every single Caymanian yet today. Y'all don't have any fire in your belly because you've grown up being entitled, right? I remember when I was in, just this 1 second, caller, I'm coming to you. I remember when I was in high school, getting ready for college. My aunt didn't have any money to send me to university. It was like, okay, you're going to have to figure this out. She wasn't educated. She didn't have anything past, I guess, a high school education. Nobody was helping me with my college applications. That was all on me. And because I had that fire in my belly to change the outcome of my life from previous generations, I wasn't going to sit down and complain, well, somebody better set up a trade school for me. Somebody better fill out this application form for me. Somebody better give me money. I knew that I had to get up off of my rear end and go find it. So I was out there hustling, applying for scholarships, going through booklets, reading who's giving away money. And I was at a disadvantage because as an international student, there was a lot of stuff, and a non-American, there was a lot of stuff I wasn't even eligible for. So I found the one or two that included international students that didn't discriminate because I was in a student visa. Right? I cleaned people's friggin' toilets to be able to go through university. And Caymanians sit here and have everything handed to them on a silver platter. And you also have the audacity, oh, well, we still need trade schools. No, you don't. What you need is to get up off your behind and see what's available. And if you want to take these courses, take advantage of them because they are there. Huh? Right? I had the interesting pleasure of working as a resident assistant in a private dorm with super rich kids coming down from New Jersey. Again, everything handed to them on a silver platter, hanging out by the pool all day and flunking out of school within the first year. And I said, wow, what a privilege, right? If I had somebody paying for my education, the least I could do is study and make decent grades. But you see, when you don't have the fire in your belly, and sometimes the only way you can get the fire in your belly is through some hard knocks in life and knowing that nobody's going to do it for you. And you better get up and do it yourself. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra. I've been summoned. I love what you're talking about because I was speaking about 3 years ago. I was talking to a group of older Caymanians, and I was asking them, what has changed? Like, what is so different now? Because they just have a different work ethic. They have a different view on life.
They had a harder life, is what was different.
And that is exactly what came out. It is the struggle. The struggle that inculcates in you those values to want to get better, want to achieve more. But you see, the problem is, right? A lot of older Caymanians, when they had children, the Caymanians that went through struggle, they say to themselves, my child isn't going to go through that. I'm going to make sure my child has what I didn't have, not realizing that by giving their children everything, you're robbing them of the opportunity to develop those values that make you successful.
Exactly.
Right? We all know that one of the number one ways of building wealth in any country is to own a business. Now, owning a business is hard work, Sandra, as I'm sure you know, right? And there are going to be many times before you can actually pay yourself when you're starting a business that you might even fail, but you keep at it until you find your niche, and then you stick to your niche, and then you build your business.
Yes.
All right. I have a friend of mine, and not really a friend, an acquaintance, right? Jamaican national, came here, been living here for years. He got his status and everything, so he's Caymanian, right? UCCI was offering an HVAC repair course. Right? For those of you that don't know, HVAC has to do like the ACs and that sort of thing.
Right? AKA a trade school, trade options.
All right, good. And he said to me, every single time I went there to class, not one Caymanian did he see. It was my fellow Jamaicans and other people he now owns his business. He now opened a business and it's thriving, and he has customers growing every single year.
Yeah.
Why is it Caymanians can't go in there and like they talk about trade school? Here it is, UCCI, and he had to pay for the course. Right? Caymanians get it for
free.
Right? But it goes back to that adage: when it's for free, you don't value it.
Yeah,
when it's given to you, you don't value it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have to struggle.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought I'd throw in my 2 cents.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I mean, part of it to me, I see your comment, Aliano, and I think part of it, honestly, is a lack of information, right? Aliano says, in my eyes, a new court is just like a new prison, a failing society, and a need to process the bad meat out and lock away for sight. Well, that's because, Aliano, you're not really thinking about this too deeply, and your vision as to what the courts do is actually short-sighted. Let me challenge you. And this is why I wanted to do this show this morning, because it really occurred to me that y'all don't have any clue what the judiciary is all about. You, in your mind, is simply thinking about the criminal arm of the court. The court does a lot more than that, right? Not for nothing, but they do a lot more than that. There's a financial division. We're going to talk about that this morning, financial services. As a matter of fact, I'm not talking about financial services. I'm going to talk about family and mediation, right? They have summary court. So when somebody hoodwinks you out of your money, breaches a contract, whatever, your remedy is with the courts. Y'all are just thinking, oh, this is about locking people up. This is the criminal arm, and that's it. No, it's not. That is a part of the judiciary. There is a lot more to what the judiciary does. Agreements or disagreements between common people, anything less than $20,000 or less, summary court. Multi-million-dollar transactional disagreements, grand court. You have people from all over the world coming here and having to use our resources. It is an embarrassment every single time I can't hold my pee and have to go to the bathroom, the only bathroom, one stall in the courthouse. I'm embarrassed at how that looks. That's a simple thing. I can't imagine having to work there with the lack of resources available to you. It's ridiculous. You guys have to think about the delays that are created because of the lack of infrastructure development for the courts. You know, in law, they say justice delayed is justice denied. Right now, if you go to Grand Court and you're not in custody and you have they arrested you and want to charge you with something, Aliano, and you're like, I'm an innocent man. I need to prove my innocence. It takes you an average of 6 months, if you're lucky, to even get listed on the Grand Court list. Why do you think that is? Not enough space. Not enough justices. Have you ever been called for jury duty? All of you who say, oh, well, we don't need nothing. Have you ever been called for jury duty? I want anybody who is sitting here today saying that we don't need a new courthouse, we don't need to invest in that, and who has also been called for jury duty and still shares that opinion, call me. Because y'all you're like cockroaches on top of each other up in the jury room. No space. We have got to expect better. How long has that courthouse been there? I'm surprised it's not even making people physically sick like the old government building. There's nothing wrong with the judiciary demanding, as they very well should, that they get some improvements too. Juliana can find $50 million to go build a school for less than 200 children. Yet you have thousands of people going through the penal system, the civil system, financial services, multi-million-dollar transactions from all over the world, having to deal with that old rundown facility there in Georgetown. Come on now. Stop looking for excuses to do the right thing. And the right thing is to prioritize the judiciary. It's as simple as that. We have a new Chief Justice, and she has a lot of fire in her belly. I like it. She has a vision. She has dreams. She has things that she wants to accomplish. But all of that is going to be extremely limited because of what she has to work with. And I'm going to play some of what it is that she actually has to say in regards to that. This person says, kaboom! That was a full dose of reality. Please be a guest speaker at every parent-teacher meeting. Oh, Lord have mercy. Parents in primary schools should already be thinking about a college education action plan for their children. My God. We need a change of mindset. You see, it starts with your mind. I'm going to be honest with y'all. This is going to hit really, really hard, even for me to say it. But I'm really, really glad that I did not grow up in Cayman. I missed out on a lot. Oh, God. The mangoes and all those fun things and, But listen, the trade-off is that I got to see a different way of living. I got to experience different things. And I do believe I came back a little bit wiser. When you have something to compare Cayman to, this is why I say I can tell y'all without fear of contradiction that y'all are too spoiled. Caymanians have had it too good. The struggle that our forefathers had is gone. They had no choice but to leave this island in order to make a living, whether it was turtling, going off to sea, whatever, and they made the necessary sacrifice. Now, let me be very clear. There was also things that were lost because of that. So there's always a trade-off. Just like I talk about, oh God, I would love to have those memories of growing up in a small little place like Cayman and, being so cushiony and having, oh yeah, I could just run outside and run up a tree, not have to worry about somebody trying to kidnap me when I was in my senior year in high school at the mall. I didn't want to have to worry about those things, but that was the reality of where I was. But the trade-off of being able to say, you know what? There was nobody there pushing a silver spoon, gold spoon, copper spoon. There was no spoon in my mouth. If I wanted it, you better figure it out. I remember in high school, right? Like I said, my aunt was not an educated person. She had common sense. She had her family in Tampa had a business that she was a homemaker, and she helped out in that family business for years. They actually had a dry cleaning business. But I'd be doing high school work, and I was in a lot of honors classes, AP classes, which is advanced placement, which meant that in high school, you were actually doing university level work. And the reason why I did that is because it was free in high school for me to take those courses. And then once I sat the AP exam, if I scored high enough in the exam, I would be exempted out of those courses when I got to university. You see, when you got to pay for it yourself, I don't have time, and I don't have mama and daddy's money or the Cayman Islands government scholarship money to go and waste on an education. I better know what I'm doing and get it together very, very quickly. So even in high school, yes, have your action plan. I was like, okay, 7th grade, I started to buckle down at my work. I'm like, okay, now the ish just got real. Here we go. Grades are going to start to count here shortly. When you go to university, they want to know, what were your high school grades? How did you do on the SAT? All this kind of stuff. What extracurricular activities? You're competing with a lot of people, right? So I did the advanced placement courses. And believe me, even in elementary school, there were times that I was like struggling. Cayman schools academically, even back then, don't prepare you. Let me tell you something. When I moved back to Cayman in 1996, 97, I had some other Caymanians and be like, oh, can you read this over for me? Can you help me in my schoolwork? University graduates. And I was looking at their caliber of work and shaking my head. I'm like, wow, this is what your schools in Cayman prepared you for? Dismal. It was kind of scary. No writing capability whatsoever. I was like, damn. What a hot mess. Anyway, I'd be there struggling with my homework. I'm not a math person. Y'all know it already. When I got to trigonometry, I said, please do not torture me any further with this thing called math. I'm not going into any field where I'm ever going to need trigonometry because I knew that was not my forte. Okay? I was an English major for a reason. Social sciences. Trigonometry. I was like, what am I going to need this for? So I said, okay, you got me at algebra, college algebra. I'm not doing no trigonometry. Forget it. Oh, but we can put you in advanced placement trigonometry. I said, Lord Jesus, no. But I still needed help. Algebra. Honors. I was like, oh my God, this is making my brain hurt. My aunt couldn't help me. My cousin, who was a perpetual university student, poor William, he never got a degree. Oh, now he's still in university, according to him. Another one with a silver spoon in your mouth. Because my aunt never put the boot to his behind like she should have. Yeah? I'm going to tell you all the story about William here in a second. Anyway, I would have to call the student helpline because thank God they had this available. Oh, no, Cayman, I got nothing like this. If you're at home doing your homework in way back when I was in school and I needed help, there was a 1-800 number that I could call and they had teachers on standby. Oh, algebra. What's your question about? Algebra? Okay, let us put you through. This was like back then, the rotary dial and the push dial phones. So I remember that after I got out of school, I used to go to where my uncle would work, and he worked janitorial work at a local elementary school. That was his second job. I can give y'all a real reality check here this morning. And I would have to go there and sit down and wait until he was finished to then be able to go home because my aunt didn't believe in no children being unsupervised at home by themselves. Oh, no, you don't. Yeah? So I would sit there in the little, they had like a little lounge area, trying to get a head start and get my homework done, because by the time I got home, it was like dinner, bath, bed. That was it. And I was like so confused. I'm like, man, I don't get this equation. I don't know what this is about. I'm not understanding this. I had an 800 number I could call. I'd pick up the phone and call and say, okay, this is the problem. Can you help me? They'd walk you through it. They'd explain the principles. They'd stay on the line with you as long as you needed the help. Nobody was giving me anything. Even me, I had to find out about those resources, but they were there and they were available. So when I look around at what we have here on this island as Caymanians, I'm going to tell you guys today that y'all need to stop complaining so much, right? The things that you have available to you, the courses, especially when it comes to education. UCCI just partnered with St. Leo College near Tampa, because I know y'all don't like to travel far. Okay? Now they can go, this is a Catholic academic institution. You can go there and do an additional number of courses. They're going to have joint seminars, lectures, training sessions. There's just so many things available. Stop saying that we do not have a trade school, because to me, that is an easy excuse and that's an easy out when we do have a lot of programs available here. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra. Good morning. An excellent subject this morning. Yesterday morning, I thought on yesterday, Wednesday, yeah. I listened to Captain Paul Hurlston.
Mm-hmm.
He called in about something, and other people as well. But I'm speaking about the older folks.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be a good idea to interview some of those people, have them on the radio.
We do that already. Can I just stop you there for a second? That is called
yes,
Cayman.
ma'am.
That is called Cayman Voices. Did y'all listen to Miss Seymour when she talked about the things that she had to do and how she started at her life, and how back in those days we did not even have cookeries in our homes, no stovetop, no refrigerator, no nothing?
Oh yes.
We have come from hard knocks. But you know what our problem is? Let me tell you what has happened. We gained this success that came upon us too quickly. We were not prepared. Our people were not prepared. And so all we know is boom, quick money, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, time of prosperity. And our people lost a lot of the lessons that our forefathers, and who are now our grandparents, and even some of our parents, we've lost all of those lessons of hard work.
Exactly.
Our
Sandra.
children don't know nothing about it.
Exactly, Sandra. I hate the fact that when, like the gentleman that called in, one of your first callers, I love what he said, because I know about some of those days of hardship and having to get off a bus at 14 years old and work at, you don't know anything about the La Fontaine Hotel, because you came after that, and work until 11, 12 o'clock at night, and then had to go home. Well, they had transportation for us, and we had to go home and do homework. On the weekends, we had to wash our own uniforms. Hey, not throwing them in no washing machine and a dryer after work. Afterwards, you know, wash them on your hand or wash them on your washboard. What was wrong with that? Nobody else had any better except the so-called big shots of this island that didn't help anybody except themselves. So, but a lot of them never amount to anything, as the older people would say, as I now going to say, because I'm one of those older folks as well. And I remember all of that. That's why I value what I have gotten. I come from a big family. My father was from Honduras. He had a big family as well. Unfortunately, we lost him very young, when we were very young. So my mother was a father and a mother, but we had to work for what we had. Now, my mother never told us. She never told us, I could give you, because she couldn't, because they were poor as well, very poor. I could give you what I never gotten, and I could see that you got, wasn't such things. You know why? Because I feel like today, when the children are given everything, they don't know, like the gentleman said before, and I thank him very much for saying that. They do not know the value of the dollar, how that dollar was gotten. They don't know what hardship that our folks had to go through, and some of the younger people are a lot, not some, but a lot, don't know anything about fish dinner, conch stew. They know about hot dogs. They know about hamburgers. Nothing wrong with a hamburger. But you know what? Back then, the people that we didn't even have doctors. Now, doctors and nurses are knocking us down now. Back then, people were healthier. They were more productive. They knew how to do things. They knew how to fix things. Okay, you get yourself a good education. That's fine. That's a part of life. But work hard to get it. Strive to get it. I admire people like you. I admire people like Dr. McPhail that had such a struggle even to get to where he has gotten today and can tell the stories of it.
Yeah.
I admire people like my husband that came here as a chef from Switzerland. And Switzerland, I know one of our education ministers, and I could take up much more of your time now, but one of our education ministers went all the way to Finland to see about their education system, came back here and never mentioned a word. What did he find? What did he see? What did it, and it makes you stop and wonder. Cayman could take an example, since we're so small and Switzerland has over 8 million people. Could take an example from Switzerland. I'm not talking about Finland. I know nothing about Finland. I know it's in Europe and whatnot. Because in Switzerland, when you finish school, you're going to take up you're going to learn a trade of some kind.
Yes. And I'm gonna pause you there because we're going into 10 minutes now. But let me just ask you to leave us with those comments. Yes. Thank you so much, my dear.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Darling.
And I hope we would learn something from these older folks. Listen to them. They have the experience to tell us about.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sandra.
Okay,
Good
darling.
morning.
Good morning. Thank you. So let me just say a couple of things. I see some of your comments coming in, and some of you are saying, I saw somebody said here about like these children that don't have no behavior, we need to push them into the trades. Yeah, okay. Miss Darlene, City of Gales examinations is the perfect examination for children with behavioral issues and learning disabilities. No, it's not. Sorry, Miss Darlene. No, it's not. Y'all think that going into a trade is for somebody who has no discipline? Who can't read and write? That's not what trade schools are, you know? Let me just take a minute to break this down. It seems to me that Caymanians have this nugget in their head that a trade school is somehow less of a qualification in the sense that if you're a bad student, you don't know that 2 + 2 = 4, you know, all these things, you misbehave in school. Oh, how you're going to make it in life is to get into trade. Stop telling people that. Stop saying that. Because your children are listening to that nonsense and they are believing it. What you need to tell your children, and I'm sorry if y'all were offended by the word hoodlum, but I'm not sorry. What you need to tell, if the cap don't fit, don't get insulted. What you need to tell your children is that anything you do in life requires discipline, sacrifice, and hard work. Whether you are a lawyer or a plumber. I see lots of people walk around the place, I want to be a plumber. I'm like, you do? You don't have the discipline to know what joints should even go together? You want to be a plumber, but you don't understand the mechanics of physics and what screws should go here. Please go tell your children to sit down. The trade schools are not for people who flunked out and failed in life. Get that memo through your heads. I keep seeing this. I'm thinking to myself, why do people say that? Trade schools is just another option career-wise because you can't have everybody being a doctor. You can't have everybody being a lawyer or an accountant. We need electricians. We need plumbers. We need whatever the heck they're called, AC people. But that doesn't mean that if you were a failure in school and a failure in life, that that's your only path or that is what you should be getting into. That's where they're not going nowhere. Because when they go and sign up for these courses and they find out, oh my God, I have to show up to class? There's discipline of going to class and I have to be there by a certain time? That I'm going to have homework? I'm going to have to tear down an engine and put it back together? Yes. Trade schools are not for flunked out kids with behavioral issues, learning disabilities, and no behavior. It's for people willing to still sacrifice, willing to study and do the work and learn, show up. Because that's the first thing you need to show up before you can show out. We got to really start to educate our people. There's no work out there that is dishonest work once it is an honest living. This is what I'm here to tell you. Rough Seas, I saw your comment about, not everybody had it as lucky as you to be able to go overseas. Rough Seas, I can assure you that that had nothing to do with luck or good fortune or anything of the sort. That was a parent who was desperate to get me out of Cayman because he saw where he failed with other children. I was the youngest, and I reckon he said, well, this is my last shot. And obviously, I'm not equipped to do it again because of bad decisions, bad morals. out there in these streets having children with people that not even your wife, drinking too much, being abusive, all of these things. So here I come along now, the last of the Mohicans. Well, let's just give her a chance so we can send her overseas to somebody else that we don't even friggin' know. We don't know what kind of environment we're going to be sending her in. We don't really know if these people are all that good people. I mean, they claim to go to church, but that don't mean nothing. Don't make assumptions, Rough Seas, that because I had the opportunity to go overseas, although it has made a significant difference in my life, you don't know the whole struggle. And quite frankly, you will never know. And it has nothing to do with opportunities. A lot of Caymanians had opportunities that they dwindled and did not take advantage of. Trust and believe me. That was a sacrifice more than an opportunity, but you do what you got to do. And in life, sometimes you're only presented with two options, sink or swim. And if I didn't learn how to swim very, very quickly, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. But, don't make assumptions that was like, oh, that was a great thing. It was so lucky. Good morning, caller.
Morning again. I had to call in. I had to say something else. All right, Sandra, I think that for many of our fellow Caymanians, you might as well be speaking a foreign language. So I think for those who are listening, for those of you who have children who are listening, here's a game plan for you. Here's a game plan for you. Stop buying your children the latest of everything. Stop buying them the latest cell phones. Stop buying them the latest video games for mediocre work at school. Give them proper rewards.
Right.
Stop saying to your children, oh, well, when I dead and gone, you can have the house, you can have the land, you can have the thing and get dead left. You know what you should be telling your children? Look, this is my land, my house, and if you don't perform, I will sell it and enjoy it in my old age, and you're going to have to find something else for yourself.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Stop putting false hope in teacher. Yeah, I remember a friend, I was over by a friend's house, and she was cussing and ranting, going on about her son's performance at school. She said she went to a PTA meeting, and I just don't know what to do with him. It's not like I don't try to go. I give him the best of everything, and he knows that I have a piece of land waiting for him on the back, and he knows that I have a car waiting for him.
That's the problem.
I said to her, I'm changing her name. I said, that's the problem. That's the problem, right? He doesn't have to work for anything because mama gonna give him everything, right? Parents, stop rewarding mediocrity. Stop getting your children the latest of everything. Matter of fact, if you can't afford to pay a phone bill, you shouldn't be having an iPhone or a Samsung
exactly.
or whatever the latest thing is.
Exactly.
Right?
I hear. Listen to the lessons that we're teaching our children. Right. Somebody recently reached out for some assistance with a utility bill. And, I'm starting to ask questions when people are reaching out to help. If I know somebody connected to them, I ask. And their family member said to me, but Sandy, how's she going to need help with her CUC bill and just bought 2 tablets for her children for Christmas? Mind blown. Right. What is wrong with her, people?
Right.
Something to us,
You hear some of them talking about struggle. They don't know what it is and whatnot. And thinking when you dig, you even got to dig deep, Sandra. Some of them, mommy not working. Daddy, if he's in the picture, not working.
Yep, but they still expect.
But hold on. But the light's still running, water still flowing, fridge full of food. What are you gonna say to them children talk about hard work when that's what they're seeing?
Right.
Yeah. Parents, stop spoiling your children.
Yeah.
Give them a little struggle. Make them work for something.
And you know what? You have to do that by example too. You can't sit down and you're behind all day and do nothing and expect your children to understand what struggle is all about. I mean, I saw people with my own 2 eyes struggle. Or
even if you're not struggling. I mean, because I have some friends that are parents too. They've done well for themselves. And you know what they say to the children? They say, this is not your house. This is mommy and daddy's house. All right? That's not your room. That's my room that I allow you to sleep in.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I want the new video game. All right, you want a video game? Go and get a little bagging job.
Yes.
Go and get a little bagging job.
Absolutely.
Well, when I was doing bagging, it was like $1 an hour, $2.50 on the weekend. And you had to learn customer service skills to get your little tips
Mm-hmm.
and make them work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Stop giving your children everything they want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's half the battle right there. Anyway, sorry I had to call me.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. 936-2626. You know, it is a struggle, folks. I don't know. Like, I don't know. You know, I've had people say to me, like my really good friends, oh my God, Sandy, where do you find the motivation to do the things that you do? And for me, it's like a weird question and I don't know how to answer it, except that I would say that your experiences put that fire in your belly, you know? So I don't know, you know, but they're like, no, but you're not normal. Like you have a different kind of drive. I mean, I don't know, because all I've known my entire life is to struggle. So, I mean, I don't know, you know, even when I've quote unquote, oh, you've arrived, you know, you can afford nice things if you want it. I'm still getting up every day and struggling in the sense that I'm trying to prepare for a future for myself, my daughter, if she wants that future, if she does the right thing, as the last caller said, because you can't just have young people sit down and expect that you're going to do all the sacrificing, you're going to do all the hard work, and then they're going to just sit down and get dead left and reap the benefits. So they have to do their part too. They have to demonstrate that they're worthy of something. You don't just give them something and set them up in life just because you have it. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people of financial means actually have or do when it comes to their children. Good morning, caller.
Hey, good morning, Sandy. How are you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
Good, fine, thanks. Marv Reed here.
Hi, Marv. Good morning.
Love the topic. Good morning, Kenan. Love the topic that you're on because, like yourself, have a passion for children, and that is something that I was born with, and you have to be born with it, actually. And then as you grow up and you see the struggles that you've been through in life and see how you work to get where you are, you learn to appreciate it and you teach that to your children. I cannot say enough and agree with a lot of what that gentleman just said there. And besides just even, you know, encouraging your children to go out there and learn to work, getting them a summer job, all of that sort of stuff, Christmas job and everything, just even encouraging them to say to them, if you want to be rewarded, how about you sitting down and studying and bringing me home good grades? Because like I have actually told my children, you're not bringing those good grades home for me. I am the least of the importance when it comes to the grades. In the next couple of years, I may be dead and gone even before you even get that opportunity to graduate. You're bringing those grades home for yourself, because at the end of the day, it's when you get to that place in life where you need to go out there and get a job. You need to have that paper to show. Even though nowadays you can have as many grades and degrees. I mean, we know how hard it is just for you to even get a job in Canaan as well. So, you know, just encouraging children to go to school and get good grades is most importantly.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's the bare minimum in this day and age, to be honest. I mean, you know, and it's not just, and this is one of the things that I'm going to say. I know that and I've said this before, and I think maybe this is going to be a recurring theme for me to sort of say this in 2024, right? Here in Cayman, we think that we are so amazingly unique, that these problems that we're facing are only problems that we are facing, and nothing could be further from the truth. Y'all need to start educating yourselves and reading beyond what happens in the Cayman Islands. Pick up articles, magazines, everything is available online, right? It is affordable. You can read a lot. You can get access to professional journals, research, studies, whatever. Go and look at what is happening with the cost of living all over the world. Trying to get jobs. I was just watching a special the other day about how difficult it is right now for people to get jobs in the United States, all over, right? People are moving from one city to another city, one state to another state to try to leverage. And these are people with qualifications, with job experience, who you think a job would be falling into their lap. That does not happen anymore. And that is not unique just to Cayman. I know we think we're so special that every problem in the world is unique to us. Right? The increase in rent, the cost of living, the increase in housing, unaffordability in housing. We think that these are all Caymanian problems. And I want to tell you that they are not.
Absolutely right.
The glory days of the financial boom is gone. You know, if you enjoyed that time and you haven't found your fire, you need to get up and find it.
Yes.
Marva, let me tell you something.
Yes, Mark.
I didn't have the benefit. One of the unfortunate things that I lost out on not having grown up in Cayman is getting my Caymanian culinary chops early. Right? That's why to this day I can't really perfect rice and beans. Okay?
Yes.
I've had to teach myself a lot of the recipes thanks to the beautiful people like Miss Laura McLaughlin. You know, years ago, she said, Sandy, come and sit down with me. Let me show you how to do your Cayman style beef, how to pick the right choice of meats. This is how you put it in the pot. This is what you need to season it with. This is my little tip about how to do this, this, and this.
Yes.
I didn't grow up, unfortunately, here, so I never got any of those lessons. And those to me are important life lessons to have.
Absolutely. You're right about that.
But you know what? You know what I was doing? I enjoyed baking.
Yes.
I would make my little cakes. I remember when my father had his restaurant in town when I came back. Mind you, I already had a degree, you know? I had a bachelor's degree. I was working first at Walker's, then at Maples. So I wouldn't say that I wasn't making a decent salary. But you know what else I was doing? I was baking on the side because I said, well, why don't you have a little restaurant here, Talk Taste Restaurant. Why don't you offer people a little dessert? Like they come in, they get their little lunch. Maybe they want a little piece of cake, a brownie, whatever. He's like, no, I don't know nothing about that. And I said, just leave it to me. I can do it. I started baking and leaving those things at my father's restaurant. I would deliver them. I forget what a woman's name is now. I'm picturing her. Nana, we used to call her. I'm picturing her and I would take it to her and I'd say, okay, I'm going to leave this stuff here now, you know, whatever, cut up it got to the point where people were like, can we get some more of those brownies? Who made those? Can we get some more, of the cake with the yellow frosting on it? Blah, blah, blah. And it's not necessarily that I had to do it, like it was making me no pile of money. But that's what happens when you have a little bit of motivation. You always got more than one thing in the fire at the same time. You're always doing more than one thing.
Yes, you're right. You're right, Sandra. And I did the same thing. And I encourage my children. I have 4 daughters and they're all in university, but I encourage them because like yourself, growing up, being raised in Kimmenbrook by my grandmother, I stand there, I watch her cook because guess what? You know them old people, they don't sit down, write down ingredients and do measuring and all that sort of stuff. I watch them do it. And I try to memorize it. Am I perfect? No, I'm not. Yeah. But I teach my children to do the same thing. And thank God their grandmother, who's my mother, is still alive. Up until this weekend, my daughter was sitting down there watching my mother make something that she loves to eat when she comes home from university. I'm like, girl, go plop down next to your grandmother and watch her. And she did it. But again, there's so much that we can do and we have to teach our children because at the end of the day, we used to be very fortunate back in the days. We're no longer fortunate or privileged, even though we think, and it's unfortunate to say, we're teaching our children to think that they're entitled. No. We need to stop it. We need to stop it. Our children are going to suffer and hurt if we don't teach them the right things and put them on the right path. And it got include tough love as well.
Absolutely. And while we're sitting here complaining, we have a few Caymanian physicians here. And of course, that's a area I'd like to see more Caymanians enter. But, there was a strike in the UK. I don't even know if they're still on strike, but there was a strike in the UK the other day. And I remember watching something this was actually, I think he's an American doctor, but he was talking about when he finished school, what he was actually making. And I was surprised, especially for the amount of hours that you are working, how little he was making. This guy is now a YouTuber that's a multimillionaire, and he's taken a completely different path. But, he started out wanting to be a physician, wanting to help people, whatever, and the money just wasn't there. There's so many physicians in the U.S. The competition is stiff. So he was like, I was making $40,000, $50,000 a year, working ridiculous hours as a physician when he started doing his online YouTube business. And that started to take off. There's a point when it came, okay, you got to make a decision. You either continue to be a physician and put your 20, 30 years plus into that, or, you're doing decent with the YouTube business, being an entrepreneur. You either now commit to that 100%, go full steam, and make a go of that, fail or not, success, fail, whatever, that's a chance that you're going to take. And so he decided to go that option of being an entrepreneur and largely coming out of the medical field, except to advise people, students, on how to get into medical school, how to do well in exams. So he was actually teaching and selling online training packages.
Yes.
Our people just have to be prepared to think outside the box. Traditional business, traditional way of doing things, that's not where it's at anymore. You've got to think above and beyond what is before you. And this is why it's important that if you're not going to travel, if you're not going to live anywhere else, the internet is one of the most amazing tools for you to learn, about what other options are out there and what else is happening. So right now in France, their government leaders are talking about, they have to look and make PhD, hear me now, PhD job prospects need to be better. You can imagine getting to the PhD level and not being able to get a job in France?
Yes.
Y'all need to go and read up on these things and educate yourself.
But Sandra,
listen to me. France has a research minister. We could probably do one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he says that he is pushing to bolster the reputation of PhD holders in the private sector and to improve their situation in the job market. You can imagine that? A PhD and you still can't get a job? And y'all complaining that Caymanians can't get a job with a high school education? Y'all need to go sit your behind down.
Sandra, here's one of my biggest concerns right now as a parent with 4 children, and children that go off to university. And I say this, and I've been saying this all along, to members of parliament, politicians back then in those days. First and foremost, we have to thank our government for what they do to help our kids with educating them, because there are a lot of Caribbean islands where they don't get, or they're not afforded the kind of opportunity that our children get when it comes to scholarships. So we have to be grateful and thankful. But our children work hard to obtain that. They just don't sit on their backsides either. And because, my dear, the way that some of the requirements now are being, the requirements keeps getting higher and higher. Some of the requirements are even unnecessary based on what I've learning. But at the end of the day, if the government know they're giving out 100 scholarships this year for individuals to go off and come back in the next, say 4 to 6, maybe 8 years, they come back with a bachelor, they come back with a master's. I would say that time frame can give them bachelors and masters. My thing is have jobs there put aside, not just sitting down waiting, but put it into your to see that in the next couple of years, I know that we're expecting, they know their stats, they know what these children that whom they've given scholarships to, what they've gone off and studied. So, my God, build that into your country's succession plan to say, hey, listen, we need to make sure that in the next 4, 6, or 8 years, when these kids come back from universities with all of these degrees, let's be able to place them where they deserve to be placed, because we've funded them to get this education. Now let's look about helping them to get a job and giving back and contributing back to the country. But they don't do that. And so you have children coming home with a bachelor's, 1 master's, 2 masters, and even come home while they're working. While they're going to school, they'll come home during their Christmases and their summers, and they will come home and even work within government departments and do summer internship and all of these internships. I thank those departments that do give those kids those opportunities. But my God, set aside and say, hey, listen, now when they come back in the next 2 years or 3 years, now they are fully qualified. Let's add them to our succession plan to the Cayman Islands. Let's employ them full time. But guess what? Kids come back with all of these degrees. And now when they applying to get jobs, no, because here's what they tell them. Well, you're overqualified. You got too many degrees. But guess what? You do not have enough experience in the job. Really? And that's what's happening with our children in society.
Yes.
And it is because the country doesn't have
we do have another caller, Marva. Let me just allow this caller to jump in. Caller, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Morning, Sandra.
Morning there.
Marva just struck a nerve with me.
Yes.
Both of my children are college educated, and as of almost last month, both are now living and working in the U.S. Fortunately for them, they have U.S. citizenship papers through their mother, so they're able to work over there. My son graduated and got a job when COVID hit, for first year when COVID hit. Had to stick it out, ended up coming back here, got offered a management position. I'm not going to call the entity because it's heartbreaking for me, but I still have to have a conversation with the owners. I got offered a management position, and the requirement was to work 60 hours a week, which he was quite happy to do. But ironically, the salary did not even allow him to afford to rent a one-bedroom unit. And this is a management position. Okay? So he ended up finding another job that was barely able to, I don't even think he was able to put anything in savings at the end of the month when all that was done. If it was a fistful of dollars, as the saying goes. Fast forward, he got headhunted, and now he's living in the U.S. in New York. And if you think Cayman living in cost of living,
I was gonna say to you, do tell how the living arrangement in New York is working, because he's probably living in a matchbox and paying about $2,000 for it. But anyway, it's good experience.
He's living in the same size unit that he was actually renting here, and he asked for double the cost. But here's the difference: they put something in the savings account at the end of the month. After all that. And my daughter, and like I said, my daughter isn't here because she couldn't get a job here. We've encouraged both of them to work internationally, so that nobody could come back to the BS going, "Oh, you don't have international experience," or "Oh, you're overqualified," this, that, and the other. We have a systemic problem here, which is we either blindly trust or we don't care. And when I say we, I mean the powers that be, and even the general public in a whole, in that we don't organize to insist that something changes, right? It's only when it comes to catastrophic levels do we get above our collective around areas and do something. And that's a very, very rare scenario. So one of the thoughts, talking about thinking outside the box, and this is not an idea that I came up with. This is something that actually a friend of mine from the UK came up with, who actually has been living here for probably almost 30 years now and married Cayman and everything else. But they were just saying that it was a thought, and it's certainly something that should be explored. And like we all know, right, if there's a definitive interest and desire, to get something done, it gets done. It just has to have the impetus behind it. And that is, we have a lot of kids here, a lot of delinquent kids, what have you. Some of them are fatherless. A lot of them are fatherless. And in often cases, even motherless, being raised by their aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, family, what have you, right?
Right.
And they're just a revolving door in the courtroom for petty crimes, what have you. And his suggestion was, and I thought it was a good one, since we're a British dependent territory, is to get a scenario where we work a program in the military, the UK military, where they can actually do, especially if they're for minor stuff, if they're in the courts for minor situations. One of their options is to say, listen, you can either choose northward, or one of our punitive programs there, or you can register in the military, do your 2-year tour, because in the military they actually look to find what your aptitude, what aptitude you have, and you can then develop that in the military. Helps develop the discipline, but also too it creates camaraderie and training. And at the end of the day, you can come out with a skill, whether it's welding, marine diving, auto mechanics, AC, HVAC, because the Marines, the military needs every single life discipline out there to operate when they're out on the field or even when they're home, et cetera. So if they did something like that, that way I think we would be more successful. It's not going to work for everybody. We know it's not. But we also have to stop. We also have to stop this talking about saying what we say to our kids. We need to stop acting like every single Cayman who graduates the Cayman Islands high school system is going to be an entrepreneur. There's just people who are not built to do that. There are people who are. But
I think the mistake that we're making, though, let me just say this. The mistake that we're making is we are setting our children up to have these expectations of what they can and can't do, and thinking that there's something out there for them to do that doesn't require a whole lot of work or skills or dedication or sacrifice. And that is the trade schools or apprenticeship programs. That's not true. You think I would take on an apprentice, right? Who can't even show up on time, who doesn't know how to dress, who doesn't have basic manners, because y'all haven't taught your children those things?
You're preaching to the Pope.
I'm not taking your child. I'm not taking on an apprentice to teach them how to speak proper English. They should already know that. Even if, let me be very clear, even if my job is just working on people's vehicles, there's a certain skill set that our people should be coming with, regardless of what their career path is going to be. Let me say something, Eddie, because I do think what you said about this military thing has some real merit, and it's very, very interesting. But let me throw this out there to you to, again, show you how incredibly entitled our people are, right? We have people who, unfortunately for them, have been involved in the criminal element in this country. So they have to put them in the witness protection program. Okay. We have a deal with the UK. Let's send you to the UK. Yep. Those people can't even, listen carefully, Naina. They can't even stay in the UK to protect and save their own lives. This is how undisciplined our people are. They run back to Cayman a couple years after being in the program, knowing that their lives are still in jeopardy. Some have come back and lost their lives because they couldn't stay there behind the UK. You think they're going to go to the UK and get into military school? It's the same fundamental problem when you have no discipline. Yes,
Sandra,
military schools can teach you.
Everybody.
No, I understand. Military schools can teach you a lot. You know, there's a young lady, I think she might actually be maybe a niece of mine, but she actually went into the cadet program. Not cadets. What's this other one called? The new Marine unit. What's it called? Mr. Scotland. Regiment? No, Mrs. Scotland is heading it up. Coast Guard. I think it's the Coast Guard that she's in.
Yes.
Anyway,
we have a Coast Guard, yeah.
She went into the Coast Guard, right? And they actually offered her the opportunity to go to Jamaica and do training. I think it must be at least a 1 or 2 year program there so that she can actually get a proper qualification. I always see her on her Instagram posting up her pictures. I can't even remember her name right now. She'll have to forgive me for that. But I always see her posting up her pictures and, you know, showing where she's at and when she's completed a training course and her nice uniform, you know, looking disciplined, going to training, the things that she has to do. I mean, there's sacrifices to be made. Somehow,
we all understand that, but again, Sandra, we have to look at it that
Erica, thank you.
While we are doing these programs, we will always have to acknowledge that there's going to be those that fail, those that are going to be doing.
No matter what we do.
Exactly.
Yes.
So my point to you is,
so then we get back to the court system.
Hold on a second, Sandra. Hold on a second. As long as we know that, and if we're keeping track of the numbers, that it's serving the greater good, we always have to understand that there's going to be write-offs. There's going to be people that will have to maybe double up their efforts or whatever, and there's people who are going to be successful. But the thing about it is, to say we're not going to try anything because we're these people are doing it is not going to work. So what I'm saying is, let's make the best of a bad situation. And if we save one, that's one less in our court systems. That's one less that's a danger to us. And that's all I'm saying there. So with that, I'll leave you all. Because
Thank you so much.
In closing, sorry, let me just say that we also have to look at, as a former president of Chamber of Commerce, the businesses here have to stop looking at maximizing their profits. And I don't mean it in a literal sense. I mean it in that they're too close. I don't know if it's too close or not, but it's actually proven fact. If you pay your people a living wage, your people will spend the money back with you. If you spend the bare minimum, they're going to try and game the system the same way you're gaming the system, and therefore everything will always be at bare bones. And that's the concept they don't get. You cannot pay peanuts and not expect to get monkeys to work.
Well, I tell you what, apparently you can't even pay a lot of times a decent salary, and you might still have monkeys trying to take those positions too, because
this is a generational thing that we're going to have to fix. Because you're right. I've employed people. I always paid market rate or above, and I've also gotten people I've had to let go. I've even had people come to me going, "Mommy told me that you're supposed to pay me nothing less than this, otherwise don't take the job." And I said, "Well, tell your mommy to pay you." But the point is that we have to pay. If you pay a decent salary, you're always, again, like everything else, there's always going to be the bad seeds in there. But it's going to take a generation to get this done. This is not something that we flick a switch and we decide we're going to implement a policy and and then next month it can be activated. This is going to be generations to reverse what we've done. And a large part of that is the mothers and fathers mollycoddling their children. That's not one thing I can be accused of.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
All right.
Bye-bye.
And these problems have not come up overnight. I mean, we're dealing with the fallout of a lot of it, but these problems were not created overnight. So Live says Caymanian men join the UK military right now. It's easy. My stepbrother is in there. And yes, Erica Rocket, thank you guys so much for reminding. Apparently she's Erica McBean now, but thank you guys for reminding me of Erica's name, which it just slipped me. But anyway, yes, I mean, this is the sort of thing we've got Caymanians in the regiment. There's also the young boy there. Oh gosh, his father is help me remember now. Oh my goodness. Oh Lord. Your brain when you get past 50, anything can happen with the memory. Okay. hold on, Marva. Y'all help me figure this out. Okay, so would his mama be Sophia? Sophie. Oh Lord, hold on here now. Let me go to Facebook and look up some Facebook friends. So Miss Lorna, I think would be his aunt. Sophie.
So she was Sophia Dilbert
Sophia
originally.
Dilbert. Yes.
His mom is she's an attorney.
Sophia Dilbert's an attorney, but this young man who is in the regiment is her son that she had with the father's name is who I'm trying to remember,
I know
real estate. Lawson. Yes, Lieutenant Tyler Lawson. Yes. Thank you, Lawson, Lord Jesus. I mean, look at that young man. Such an amazing young man, well-spoken, has gotten into the regiment, working hard. And a lot of the guys in the regiment actually have other jobs that they're working in addition to the regiment, right? I was trying to think of his father, Anthony. Lieutenant Tyler. These are examples of Caymanians who, if they are interested, but again, you got to be disciplined. Being in the regiment, not easy. When they go out on training sessions, you get bitten up by mosquitoes. You have to learn how to desalinate water. You're going to be staying outside. Yes. But y'all children know, my man, I need my PlayStation 5. I can't go nowhere without that.
That's why what you're saying is so important. And I heard the caller there. He said some things that, I beg to differ, because just this week I was having a conversation. I'm in my 50s. I was having a conversation with a lady who is in her 40s and with a teacher who taught her when she went to high school. The teacher is still in high school and stuff. And we were having a civil conversation, and I heard the teacher say to her, and I was so glad she stood her ground. The teacher made a comment and say, hey, listen, guys, we have to realize now we're dealing with a whole different level of generation. So, we have to come down to her level. She put her hand up in his face right now. She goes, well, you just said, no. She said, we come coming down to no generational thing, you know. She goes, what are you talking about? She goes, you used to teach me how many years ago? She said, what, you had allowed me to go away with it then, and now you telling me that we must allow my child to get away with it now? She goes, no. She goes, I expect you to be the same person you was 20 years ago when you were teaching me. She goes, we can't put our guard down. We can't, because if we all start doing that, we're just letting go our country, because these young people are the future of our country. So even, you know, to hear people say stuff like that, it's like, no, we still have to be on school. We still have to stand our ground. We still have to give them tough love. We still have to be stern. We still have to teach them values. They need to know, first of all, they need to learn to know what their purpose is here on earth. Unfortunately, some of our kids do not even just know something as simple as that. We have to teach them their purpose.
Listen to me. There are adults who've lived an entire life, Marvin, don't know what their purpose is here. So imagine poor children who have no support and role models and stuff, you know, and I think that is why we need to do more with mentoring programs. Because even in my own journey, you know, having access to mentors was so critical, because these are people who, you know, have lived a good portion of their life and can offer you so much amazing advice and guidance, and, you know, show you that no matter what situation you are born into, you don't have to stay in that situation. You know, you can change the course of your life. You can do better than the previous generation. There's always hope. As long as you have life and breath in your body, there's always hope for what you can do. And so, you know, I implore so-called successful Caymanians to make it your remit in life to take other people under your wing and, you know, be there for them. It's one thing to say that you've arrived and you've done whatever. That's fantastic. Our individual success story is wonderful. What about our collective success story? What will that book say? Right? And if we're not in a position to help each other, even just a good advice, giving someone a mentoring opportunity, you know, having them come into your organization, say, okay, you can work with me. I don't have any problem with that. Let me tell you something. I went to UCC a couple months ago, and there was a young man there. He's like, oh my God, Miss Sandy, I love you. You know, I want to be like you. I want to start my own YouTube channel, this, that, and the next thing. Yeah. Can I come work for you? And I said, tell me something, young man. I said, what is it that you're here doing at UCCI? What are you studying? You know, and at first I was a little bit put off by him until I started talking to him. And this is why sometimes, you know, as older heads, we have to have time and patience for young people to open up the conversation. Because, you know, he was trying to show out to his friends and acting a little bit silly and whatever. And once I pulled him away from the gang that he was trying to impress and had a one-on-one conversation. He said, listen, he said, Miss Sandra, you know, my mom is Jamaican. She doesn't really have an education. She come here and I see how hard she be working and sacrificing. I'm trying to get somewhere so that I don't have to, you know, my mama cannot have to work. I want to be able to take care of her. And I was like, really? Yeah. I said, okay. And I said, well, tell me, what is it? What are you studying here? And then he told me I think he's doing one of the electrical engineering or something. Right. And, but you know, they're thinking, oh, I want my success story tomorrow. And I said, listen to me. I said, let me tell you something. This is a very, very important lesson. Number one, get your education no matter what. That little piece of paper is more than a piece of paper.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
What you're going to put in your head, the life experience that you're going to have, just even being in a university setting, will be something that you need it. Stay here and get your education. Don't worry about becoming a YouTuber, about becoming a blogger, and you can have overnight success and millions of followers and whatever. I said, listen, get your education, do what you enjoy doing and that you're passionate about, and all of the rest will follow. Work hard, dedicate yourself, focus on your books, all this other stuff, because now everybody thinks, oh, everybody can be a YouTuber and that's where the fame and fortune and whatever is, right? I said, those things may come to you And the chances of you getting there in your 20s or 30s or even 40s is going to be pretty slim. This is the long game. This isn't an overnight success, right? We're not all going to just wake up tomorrow and become rock stars or rappers or an athlete or, someone who you think that their success story happened overnight. Yes. So just continue the course. Focus on what it is you need to be doing right now. You're here at UCCI for a reason. Focus your efforts on that. Focus on getting the best possible education that you can get, right? Make that one nugget of success on your entire journey, because you can't be failing at one thing and thinking that, you'll be able to succeed in other stuff in life. No, you got to prove yourself. We do have a few other callers on the line. Denny has joined us, and I think that might be the previous caller who called earlier, but I'm not sure because the numbers are very, very similar. You know what is so funny? Marva, your last digits is 1181. The other one is 1811. Isn't that funny? Reverse, basically.
Yes.
That is so weird. Okay. Denny, question, comment, suggestion?
Morning. I hope you realize what you just did, Sandra.
What is that?
You just caused people to scramble to see if they could buy those numbers.
Oh my God. No.
I believe that the government school system should include A levels in the sciences. Because that's absolutely crucial.
So they don't do that anymore? I mean, they've never done that, or this is something?
No, it's in math and English, in language, but not in the sciences.
Okay. And help me understand this, because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not entirely familiar with the British system of education. So A levels is like the equivalent of, in the American system, what we would call an associate's degree, yes? Like the first 2 years of university?
It's an advanced level of secondary school.
Okay, so maybe more equivalent to the AP courses. And then you take an exam at the end of the A levels. Do you get like college credit for those, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's actually preparing you for college.
Okay.
Yeah. But so I believe that we should have A levels in the sciences, because let me look.
Someone said no, it's like grade 12. Oh yes, because because the British system, you come out like at 16, which is ridiculous. You should be in school till 18. So this is like you going almost till you're 18 then.
Right, but here's the point. The point is that when you prepare your kids properly, let's just say for whatever reason someone doesn't get to go off to college, but they could finish at least A levels, they would be fairly well educated and equipped to go on, even if it's at a later time in life, if that's what they choose to do, right? But you're better preparing kids for college in an area of study that is absolutely relevant to today. Let's just say you want to go into some aspect of technology, for example, and it's not being a technician or an engineer. Let's say that you want to work for a company and it requires you to work with hardware, some sort of design or manufacturer. You're talking about needing to understand chemistry, physics. You need to understand art, okay? Because we're talking about making technology. We're talking about working with technology. You want to go work for an internet service provider. You're dealing with a whole host of issues that the sciences will make you really good in. And if you think about that, those jobs pay really well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an area that we're not properly preparing our children for. We're preparing them to be on the lower rung of the ladder,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not doing what we should be to make them really excel in those industries,
Mm-hmm.
in that industry. And the sciences is important. Also, you have Health City come on to your program.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to be a doctor, if you want to work somewhere in the medical industry, you need to do all three of the sciences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I for the life of me, I don't understand why we would not have A level for science.
Mm-hmm.
In the
Now this is what somebody just said, Denny. They said they used to have said years ago A levels were offered in the sciences. I did A level in the sciences in the public school system. Apparently, that's no longer the case. They used to offer chemistry, physics, and zoology, and of course, mathematics and computer science. But A levels were removed from the public school system. Why were they removed from the public school system?
I don't know the reason why,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just saying they need to be there now.
Does anybody know when they were removed and what the reason for them being removed? So now, in order to do A levels, you have to go to a private institution like prep or Catholic or one of those schools.
Right.
Wow.
Sandra, what I can say, I'll interject there. What I can say, because my older daughters got caught up in the whole system when they decided to break up the year 12 in John Gray, because they got caught up in the whole. I think that was it could have been under Minister Anglin or the minister right before him.
Which Anglin? Ralston Anglin?
Ralston Anglin. It was around that time when, that they took out they took out George Hicks, which was like a middle school, and then they created all of these little high schools. It was called PACE, Heritage, New Horizons, and something else. And so they did. My daughters did, I think, years 7 and 8 there, and 9. And then they went on and did, these are my 2 older daughters, then they went on and did years 10 and 11 at John Gray. And boom, that's when SciFec got thrown into the mix then, and year 12 was taken out. So then at that time then, they threw in SciFec then, like a dual enrollment type thing. And then my daughters ended up going then on to do A levels then over by prep. So that was somewhere around his time, or could have been the minister just before him. Somewhere it was in that time frame. But again, I can't say why it was done that way, but it was around that time when it happened.
I mean, again, it seems to me, somebody said that they hope Juliana's listening, but it seems to me that when politicians make these types of changes, there's no real input. There's no, okay, we've received a report and the report said we should break up the schools like this, and here's the logic, here's why. Because people seem to remember when it happened, but none of us really know why it happened. We do have another caller in the line, so let's give this caller an opportunity. Good morning, caller. Hello? That would be you ending in 1811. Hello? I can't hear you. Hello? Hi. Hello?
No, Sandra, I'm here.
No, not you. You're 1181. They're 1811. And I can't hear them. Okay. Maybe they need to.
Hearing me?
Oh, yes. Now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. So good morning.
Morning.
And I said that since you gave my number out, anyone that buys numbers on my number and wins, I expect to be paid. All right? Nothing is for free.
Oh, God.
As a teacher.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people saying that. Oh, boy, people listening to you, they go buy some numbers now.
Yep. And you know what? I like the number 11. In fact, I like number 11. So go with the 11 and then you can multiply. Go with 22 and then you multiply. Go with 32. So there you go.
Formula for success.
Yeah. Anyway, Sandra, I'm going to ask you to please allow me to say what I want to say without interruption. And I know you're not going to agree with what I'm going to say. Perhaps it's not anything that I'm going to say. But
Okay.
this whole topic, I'm just going to put it on the one umbrella. Failure of our children has been caused by, first and foremost, and you might need to help me say this word, what I would consider a seismic change. So our culture, our heritage, our population, everything that is Caymanian, it is bigger than any 8.5 earthquake. And when something hits you that suddenly, we see the destruction that it causes, how quickly that happens, and you may never recover from it. This is a tripartite problem. And I don't want you to think that I am in any way suggesting that all parents are perfect. No parent is perfect. And I just want to take you back to something I heard you say on one of your last shows for last year. And I couldn't have disagreed with you more. I don't remember exactly what the topic was, but I know you said that, as parents, we have to work and accumulate what we can to leave for our children. And I 100% disagree with that, because I don't care what any parent has. A child must work and get their own. We appreciate it more when they've earned it, but when it's given to them, it has no value.
And to be clear, that's what we said this morning. So I think there's a distinction.
Okay, yes, I know, but I'm saying something I heard you say on a former show. And
yeah, the context was a little bit different, but yes.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, based on that comment, I just wanted to say I didn't agree. And because, as the Bible says, God bless what mama has.
That's
what
right.
Father has, but
Bless the child that has his own. Yes.
And I believe in working for whatever you want. There is no easy fix for anything that you're going to achieve, regardless of what that is. However, as I said, this is a tripartite problem. It's and our children are being failed in every way. A lot of these problems is pressure being put on the parents because, like I said, of this societal change that the parents are having to deal with also. And people are having to get up out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, to be in the traffic at 5:30 and 6 o'clock, to get her job at 8:30, and then at the same time, their children, they got to hope to God that their children don't get kidnapped from the bus stop. Then you get to school, and teachers, as far as I know, I'm not a teacher, I wasn't trained as a teacher, but as far as I know, part of their training is psychologists. Then you get children coming to school. And to me, this is really where the problem starts. The problem will start in the home. And even if it starts in the home, then it manifests in the school. Because when teachers recognize that a child has a problem, and the child's problem might not necessarily be one that will develop into criminal behavior, but a problem, instead of them recognizing that problem is that child, and I know of instances where the parents have gone to the school, talked to the teachers, told them, some of the children are in counseling and so on. The teachers take great pride in humiliating those children. And even back in my day in school, we didn't have all of these counselors and stuff like that. If we had problems and we were able to talk about it, we did it with our friends, or maybe another relative. But today, with these things and equipped with all of this medical stuff that can support what the parent is trying to say, why then are the teachers adding to the problem? I am going to hold teachers more than 90% responsible for the failure in our children. They are being paid to educate our children, not to humiliate them, not to destroy them, not to destroy their self-esteem. Because I am telling you, a teacher's word to a child is much more powerful than anything a parent can say. So when you are encouraging your child, boosting your child's self-esteem, and a teacher says something different, all your work is destroyed right there. So I'm not suggesting in any way that we should spoil children, we should ignore things when we see the signs, but I am saying that our children are being failed. And then we have what they call the child services unit and so on. That is where a lot of money could be spent and should be spent. Because right now, if there's a problem with a child over the weekend, there's no one, the office is closed. It's like our news station. They're off on the weekend, you know? We're here, we're there, we need this, we need that. So why aren't we rolling and having these things available at all times? So we need more for our children. Back in my time, I think they called it career guidance or something like that. But we need more for our children. You know, the children shouldn't even have to leave the school campus to go to counseling. It should be on site. And I can tell you that back in my day, going to school, and this is very personal, but I'm going to say, I come from a broken home. My parents divorced. And as soon as that happened, we became, what would they call it? Picking to some of those teachers. I even had a teacher who looked at me one day for no reason at all, because let me just say, that affected me very much. I was very, very, very withdrawn. I was an introvert. And my escape for all of my pain and confusion about my broken home was, thank God, I was athletic. So that was where I went and, you know, I dealt with it. And my energy was there. And, you know, I wasn't like into the other things. I was artistic as well. So I did art anyway. And so I was in class one day, and then this teacher, she was, what was the subject? Commerce and office practice, I think. And, you know, she just looked at me and she started saying all these awful things to me. And then she says, oh, you know, I don't care if you go and tell your father, you know. And she said this only because of the job my father had. So, like, in other words, while she's bullying me, she's intimidating me to say, I can do this too, and you can't do anything about it. And that's how the majority of those bullied teachers felt towards us, not just me and my siblings, but other children in school of similar circumstances, because when they think you don't have anyone to defend you or stand up to you, God have mercy on you. But you know what? I was determined to show every one of those bastards and bleep it out if you have so. Nothing that they did to me was going to destroy me. And anything you tell me I can't do, I'm going to show you I can do it and do it better or die trying. And that's exactly what I did. I even had a teacher one time. I was my geography teacher who one day I was absent from school, which was a rare thing. And he made the comment in class because he didn't like my father because of his nationality, and said that the only thing I would amount to that would be that like I would be a thief, or the most that I could amount to was to be a waitress or something in lobster pot. And when I got back to school and some of the children told me what had been said, I reported it, and he was dealt with. And I'll never forget, at our 20-year class reunion, he was present. And of course, when one of my classmates, who was, just singling out other students who she knew had been bullied and stuff like me, and she started naming out what we had achieved and where we were in life today. She happened to be a lawyer, okay? So I just say that we cannot blame everything that is going wrong on the parents or the household. That is not true. Some of the most productive Caymanians we have today have come from broken homes, and broken homes with very little means. But the children struggled, and they wanted to be something. Their parents wanted them to be something, and they fought through it all. I know of instances with rich children who are menaces in the schools, private schools, because they don't go to the public schools. And when they do, let me say correctly, when they commit crimes, they sit in the class and they look at the teacher and say, and what are you going to do about it? Do you know who my father is? You never hear and you never see those cases on the court docket. Anyway, I just had to say that this morning because, like I said, I'm listening and I don't agree with a lot of what is being said because I'm just tired of everybody ignoring the elephant in the room. We need to address this problem just where it started. We cannot continue the way this whole mess is going. And just on the apprenticeship thing, let me say this quickly. That is part of Switzerland's culture. Perhaps some of the other European countries, I'm not sure, but I know for sure in Switzerland, because a lot of the Swiss don't go to university, but it is mandatory for them after high school, because they do school on Saturdays. It is mandatory for them, whatever they want to do after school, whether it's banking, and they have a big banking industry there, so a lot of them turn to banking or something is finance. But whatever it is they want to do, they have, after high school, they have to do an apprenticeship and they have to complete that so that when they are ready to work, they're already familiar with, the environment of the chosen career. And they are very successful. And 99% of them do not have a university degree. So go figure. Anyway, thank you for allowing me. And I'm going to continue listening.
All right. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Okay. So I do think that it is important to highlight two things. Number one, there is no such thing as absolutes. So I try to, when I speak in terms of our societal problems, the words, generally speaking, in my vocabulary that I try not to use. So I don't say always, ever, every time, because there's always exceptions to any situation. And those words are exclusive words that normally don't hold water, right? So when I talk about parents being and families and household being the foundation for where children get their start, that is true in 80-90% of the cases. There's always a 10% that can grow up in chaos and still be successful. I mean, some people are destined for success no matter what you throw at them. They can be in those, take an Oprah Winfrey, for example, right? She can be raped, sexually abused, all these horrible things happen to her that would have broken 90% of the people out there, 95%, but she's in that, and I don't even think it's 5%, but she's in that minority that she was just destined for success no matter what. But I think it's important that when we talk about these issues, we look at what's happening on the larger scale. Now, I'm not in the public school system in particular. I don't know how many teachers are out there bullying children. I don't know the magnitude of that situation. But one thing for sure that I've always said is you as a parent shouldn't expect anybody out there to be your child's biggest advocate other than you. That's your job. That's not a teacher's job. That's not the principal's job, right? It's your job to advocate for your children at all levels. So if you have a teacher, heaven forbid, who is out there bullying your child, you got to stand up. And you've got to bring that to the attention of the authorities. And then if they don't deal with it, then you go the next step, which is a legal step. Counseling is actually available in the schools. I had a school teacher while Ms. Brenda was speaking saying it is available in the schools. When I went to John Gray, go back and watch that video. They have the behavioral unit for children who have learning difficulties, behavioral difficulties, and so on, a quiet room where if they need to sit in, they can have that space. My point is that space needs to be bigger. It needs to be better resourced, right? So instead of dumping $50 million in a school, $5 million of that, which is going to a professional kitchen that you do not need because the kitchen does not make the cook, allocate some of these resources even in the existing schools and the existing programs. Why are special needs program children at the SciFet campus not getting more of what they need? They're already in the system. So, I think that I suppose you have to listen to the program from a holistic perspective, right? Even my previous comments about, parents working, because most of us are trying to work not just for ourselves, but for our children so that we can leave them something. But you know what I said this morning? Your children have to be worthy of that. They shouldn't be sitting down thinking that, oh, they're going to get something just because my mom and my dad have worked hard. Because that creates complacency, lazy individuals who are entitled. And they know that no matter what they do in life, some of the most ridiculous people in this country who've had opportunities, who have the right name, the right skin color, right? The right family connections, could have had and been anything in the world. You know what they're out there doing? Traveling the world and snorting cocaine. Because they have the luxury of being able to do that. Because once again, they have parents who have spoiled them, going to give them whatever they want, no matter what. And that's going to be their legacy. They have family businesses that if they wanted to work, they could go into the family business. And they don't want to do that. They want to live this highfalutin lifestyle as though they have their own reality show. But have a look, folks, at the Yolanda Ford report. We have paid, I don't know how much we paid for this report, but I'm sure it was a good sum. We have paid for the answers of what is the cause of criminality in this country. And Yolanda Ford comes right back to the family unit. Right? That is the expert that is telling you all that this is where the problems begin. It doesn't mean that there's not exceptions out there for people who will not manage to be a success story despite growing up in chaotic, abusive families with people doing the most. But for the vast majority of people, if you're trying to give them a fighting chance in life, you've got to fix this problem with families. That's where it starts. Teachers are not there to raise your children. I mean, teachers can be instrumental in a child's life. They can give them an encouraging word. A lot of times, your teachers in your schools are the only safe haven that your children have, sadly enough. During COVID, you know why so many of our children are having mental health issues? Because they had to spend more time at home. Not just being locked up in that environment, because they're having to spend more time in a chaotic, abusive environment. They don't even have the ability to now, oh my God, at least I can get out for 6-7 hours a day and go to school, see other people, have some kind of normalcy in my life. Now they're under the wing of an abusive father, a drug addict mother, a non-caring parent, emotionally absent parent. And that added a degree of stress on your children. Marva, I know you're still there, but there's something specific that you wanted to talk about. So I'm going to give you the opportunity because I do want to get back to the court thing because I've got a couple of videos that I want to pull up as well. So let's get to the crux of why you're really calling. That's why Marva has been hanging on. It's not that she doesn't have anything else to do today. There is something very specific that she wanted to talk about.
Hi, Sandra, yes. And I want to say thanks to that caller that called in. And I hope one day you can make that topic a real topic for the entire morning for your session, because certainly being the PTA president at John Gray High School, being involved in PTAs for the past 28 years and being very involved in the schools, I can comment on a lot of what she's said. And certainly I agree with a lot that she's said, but again, I totally disagree with a lot that she's said. But yes, the one thing that I'm calling really about is our security officer at John Gray High School. And for many of our callers, I'm sure that you have graduated from John Gray High School, and you probably know who I'm talking about, and that's Mr. Murray. He is the current, he's one of the current security officers, but the more senior one at John Gray High School. And he is employed by a business partner of government, one of the contractor companies, which is National Security, and that's who he works for. However, Mr. Murray has been a security officer in the school for 20 plus years. I cannot nail it down exactly, but it's 20 plus years. My two older daughters are 30 and 29. They came out of John Gray. And yesterday I had a parent say to me, my son is 37 and Mr. Murray was there when my son was at John Gray High School. So that kind of gives you an idea how long this gentleman been in John Gray High School. And I want to make it quite clear because I had a parent come at me yesterday to say that what I'm doing, I'm actually advocating to break the law. I can assure you, I am a law-abiding Caymanian citizen, and I'm not advocating to break no law, absolutely not with work or the Cayman Islands government. What I'm actually coming to the general public about, and I'm crying out for assistance and support right now, is that Mr. Murray has been here all of these years. Yes, he has not obtained PR. He's not one of those that have come here and, that has been his goal in life is to come here and become a Caymanian or anything. He came here, he's worked as a security officer, namely at John Gray High School all of these years, caring and protecting our children. And now he's down to the point where his work permit is coming up for expiration on Monday. And we do not know the state of Mr. Murray come Tuesday. And some may say, well, why are we worried about it?
Well, he's actually getting rolled over is what I understand is happening, right?
Yes, he's getting rolled over. And this has been his second rollover, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am not now just advocating for him. I've now gone public with this. But since 2020 that I rejoined John Gray High School with my last child, and in 2021, I have written to the department and to the ministry saying, hey, listen, let us see what we can do to somehow the other retain his services, but more directly through the government and bring him out of the contractual services and bringing him into the government system. This man is the glue of John Gray High School. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. This man literally knows all of our students by name, past, former, and current students. He knows their parents. This man has been beaten, bones broken, clothes ripped off. He don't mind getting into the mix, but at the end of the day, he's doing his job. But at the end of the day, he cares for our children, and he will walk that line for our children. So all I'm simply saying, and I have been saying for the past 3 years, let's not wait until this dying moment to now try to fix the problem. So even though I've now just gone public with it, I have been fighting since 2021, where one, his contract nearly never got renewed and his work permit nearly never got renewed by the company. And I fought for that. And I'm glad to say I fought for that. Again, 2022 and 2023, I've written letters saying, this is coming up. Let's see what we can do to secure this man, because he is integral to his job in the school for not just our students, but for our parents. Our parents feel safe to know their students are there under his care, as well as our teachers and leaders in the school. So I've taken it now to the air. I've taken it to our parents. I've reached out to them via the 3 WhatsApp groups that we have, which is over 800 parents. I've sent out polls, and I'm simply saying, if you really value and care for what he does for our children, or what he's done even for you, that you went to John Gray, let us advocate. Let us reach out to our ministers. Let us reach out to our government and say, what and why haven't you? We've been made promises and told we're looking after it. And I can tell you that many parents have called me since yesterday and say, Miss Marva, we've actually picked up the phone and called our ministers and our constituents and brought in our constituent area and brought this to their attention. And they tell us they're working on it and they're working on it. And of course, we hear all of that all the time. We're working on it. We're getting to it. But guess what? Now we're down to, in the next 100 hours on Tuesday morning, are we going to see Mr. Murray retained here in Cayman, or do we have to roll him out? And I can assure you, rolling him out for 1 year is detrimental to our school and what our school is faced with. Because we see all of the negative things happening in John Gray. Those things are highlighted, but there's a lot of positive things. So in addition to that, I've gone and I've sat and I've talked to students, and I've said to students, if you value Mr. Murray, if you value what Mr. Murray does in this school, I would like you to join the PTA, join your parents, and let us advocate to say to our government, to say to those higher beings up there, please do something to help us to routine Mr. Murray, not just for him to go and work for a security company, because I think he's much more valuable to us than that. As far as I'm concerned, he should be routine and working in the system, working in the government system. And we've asked for it. We have been asking for it. So now I know that all what I did yesterday and shared with parents was passed on to CMR. And I don't have a problem coming on CMR and advocating, because I'm doing it because I believe in it. And I'm trusting that other people will come on board. And I know a lot of parents now are on board, and we're advocating out there. So I don't know exactly what more I need to do than to do what I'm doing right now. But I have also been doing this for the past 3 years. And I've been told we're dealing with it, but now we're down to crunch time. So what have you done? And why haven't you gotten back to us to let us know what have you done really to help us and to help our children? Because at the end of the day.
So I think we got you, Marva. We understand the assignment. So we do have some people who don't agree with you, who say, and I'm going to read some of the comments, because we did get like you said yesterday, we did get what you sent in. And I want you to be able to respond to some of what other people have said. So this person said, I don't agree. I'm sure that we can find a Canadian for the job. I'm not signing it. So he is a Jamaican national. He's been working here for this private security company. Do you not feel that there is a Caymanian out there who could do just as good of a job as Mr. Murray?
Absolutely. I'm not saying that there are not Caymanians out there. But what I'm saying is that, and maybe this person is not aware of, all of the schools, their security officers are contracted through a company. So it's not that the government has hired security officers and they've been in the system. And yes, there is a gentleman right now that has been hired directly through the government system that is head of security there at the school. However, again, he's a Jamaican national that has worked his way up to his position.
I mean, he's been in the job for some 20-something years. So obviously he's had a working relationship, as you say, with a lot of the students. There is that legacy of working with the school, the students, the parents.
But the company that they contract, I can assure you, if you find one or two Caymanians that are officers in the company that come to work, listen here, I'm not here now this morning to cue things up, because that's not what it has been about. I have had concerns even about the services that have been provided to our school by this company. When I joined John Gray in 2020, at the old site, we had closely around about 1,100 students. At that time, we only had 9 security officers working. You all know the old site that is now being demolished the old, not the one out by Walker's Road. I'm talking about the one to the left of the new John Gray High School. And that site is a huge campus. There was at that time, there were only 9 officers working there. Out of the 9, there were only 2 female officers. And this was in 2020 when I joined John Gray, 2021. I advocated 9 officers to 1,100 students. That's crazy. I advocated for them, not saying that 9 officers may not be effective, but think about it. The campus was so huge. We only had 2 females and the rest were male. And we pretty much got a 50-50 ratio. So I advocated then we need more officers. So yes, the increase went up from 9. I think it went to 11, probably sometime in 2021 going into 22. And then we moved over to the new school. Again, it was not effective because guess what? Over in the old new school, and you can FOI this information, I about want to do it. In the new school, we have literally nearly 1,300 students in the new John Gray High School. And right now, we are contracted for 14 officers, and there are days whereby we may have, when the time comes for security officers to show up for work, 7 o'clock, we may only have 9 officers on duty. They eventually will come in, but guess what? We're talking about every day, every week, we have a rollover of pattern of different officers being dropped into the school. That is not effective for a school of 1,300 students. Officers need to come in just like teachers. You need to build a relationship. You need to build a rapport. We have, and I can assure you, like I said, there are different nationalities coming there. I mean, there's so much barriers of those individuals coming in. So personally, I don't feel the services of this company is even effective enough for what they're giving us into the school. Mm-hmm. And this is what I have been complaining about to the department and to the ministry. So it's not just a matter of Mr. Murray, it's the whole service overall. But my focus is on Mr. Murray because of him having 20 plus years a relationship with the school. Mm-hmm. Can we not try? And we should have done this maybe a long time ago.
All right. Well, I think Mr. Murray is going to be coming up. I mean, if he's been there for 20 years, he's probably coming up in retirement age soon anyway. Uh-huh. So there's also the question of what is the contingency plan as it relates to Mr. Murray and that position, not him specifically, but what is going to be the position when he's no longer available. By all accounts, everybody says, yes, he's a wonderful guy. He's doing a great job. We've got the poll up on the screen, folks. Go ahead and vote in the poll. So should Cayman Islands government save Mr. Murray from rollover is the question and essentially keep him in his job.
Can I say one comment in regards to what you just said? Mr. Murray's in his 40s. Not that I'm out there putting his personal life out there. So that tells you how young he came here. And so Mr. Murray is still a bit off from retirement age. Mm-hmm. And if we want to talk about retirement age, about persons in the school, now that's a whole different subject altogether. But
let's do your poll. And I do want to get back to some of the stuff with the judiciary. So there are people saying, I don't agree with the caller at all. Her points are weak. Another person says, life is about different chapters. The security guard can leave John Gray High School and people come and go. It's time for him to go because that's what Marva is pushing to keep the security guard. What is to stop us from doing this with everyone who is due for rollover?
It's the effectiveness of the individual. And, in fact, I can say this. Yesterday, I even had a parent challenge me and said that the purpose of us doing this is not even purposeful. It's like, what the parent literally said to me? That there are bigger fishes that we should be focusing on, and we should be focusing on petitioning out there for cost of living increases and all of this sort of stuff. And I said to them, I go, hey, listen, this is a different platform. As a human being and as a citizen of the Cayman Islands, I do focus on those points, but I'm not going to mix it into a school forum. And yes, we need to do it. And I said, but guess what?
Somebody else said there's plenty of people here for a long time and they get rolled over all 2-3 times. They're not so sure that this warrants. All right. Well, let's leave it to the people. We got a poll up. The question is, should the Cayman Islands government save Mr. Murray? Thank you very much, Marva. Should they save him? Go vote in the poll. I've also shared the poll link. Gabby says George Hicks. Alejandro says for sure, if they replace Mr. Murray, they'll be losing the icon of the hallways. And I'm sure if Mr. Murray is around, he can identify when or if a fight or anything that the student should be doing in a heartbeat and prevent it before anything happens. So I don't feel strongly about this in any particular way. I can certainly understand the arguments that if someone's been there a long time and they do have this rapport and they're an asset to the school. But my only question is, what's the contingency plan? What happens if poor Mr. Murray goes out there tomorrow and gets hit by a bus? Hopefully not a school bus, but you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to put my goat mouth on him, but my point is anything can happen to anyone at any time and no one should be, everybody's replaceable. And so people retire, people leave, people, do all these sorts of things. Caller, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Sunday. Let me put a little point out for you with Mr. Murray, because Mr. Murray, I know Mr. Murray really well. He dealt with me six years basically in high school. And let me tell you one thing, that guy, he is more in tune with the students and the teachers alike in that school than any other security guard in there. When I could get in a fight, and when Mr. Punjabi, the other officer that was in there at his time as well, at my time as well. He was the Indian officer. And if he was trying to part me up with a fight, he couldn't contain me. I would have had an elbow in his face a long time. But when Mr. Murray is there, we have a respect, a mutual respect with Mr. Murray. It's a respect between the children, the students, and I believe it's a very important relationship that he had with the students, that where the students were at the best behavior when he was around, at least when he was around. And I think that
So let me ask you a question.
Murray,
yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I mean, John Gray's still having a lot of fights. So what accounts for that? Is it because he's not around with the other 5 or 10 fights a day?
Well, Mr. Murray is only one man.
Yes,
and let me tell you this: at this point, at this point, if they think that the solution is to get rid of Mr. Murray and bring in some Caymanian officers, well, at least think of this: if they're gonna get rid of Mr. Murray, give him another 5 years so he can train some good Caymanians. So he can train some good Caymanians before they release him. Because if Mr. Murray does not want to leave his job, I don't see the reason why he should. If he loves the job that he's doing a great job at it. It's just the officers that are there need to stop being so darn ignorant and listen to children as well. Because Mr. Murray used to sit down and talk with the children. You talk about a guidance counselor. He was every one of them at the same time. He was a teacher. He was a guidance counselor. He was a supporter. He was everything that you could have think of as a security guard in this island. And I can tell you what, if he was the head of the police service, I can guarantee that this island might have probably been in a better situation. Yeah, with the crime. But to defend Mr. Murray, I believe that it should not be that he gets a rollover, and it should be that he be a trainer of the new recruitment of security officers. And if it's a solution to bring in Caymanian officers, encourage the Caymanian officers to listen to Mr. Murray and take notes and go by how he do his work, not what he's doing, how he do his work. Because Mr. Murray had a good communication with the children. That's coming from me. I was in school. I graduated 2010. So just think about that.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right,
Miss Darlene Manzanares. Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Before you get started, ma'am, I did hear you were visiting our beautiful island for Christmas, but I never got to see you.
And
Hello.
I'm back in the cold.
Yes, ma'am. And I heard them people mess with your cakes when they were trying to go back too. Oh gosh. I get news from all over, even Miami.
Oh my God.
I heard they cut up your cakes, girl.
In the parties.
Jeez, peace, I tell you.
With Jamaican neighbors.
They're not easy. I'm like, not the cakes, no.
Oh my God, I can't believe you heard that.
Oh yeah,
anyway,
I get news all over the world, honey child.
I like to tell. Yeah, man, they arrived, they've opened, but they were glad to get them. So I had this input question. Why is it if Mr. Murray has been, I don't know him personally, I've heard a lot of good things.
Yes.
If he's been in Cayman for over 25, where is the residence, permanent residence?
Somebody else was asking that too. Why hasn't he applied for PR?
Why is he still on? Exactly. So you have to be thinking about these things too. Some people are just here for being here. They don't invest. They don't do anything to stabilize their stay and contribute in other ways. Yes, he's contributing that way. But what about property, investments, anything like that? So I just had that as a question in my mind that at this stage, he being there so long, he shouldn't.
It's probably one of those situations, given the job that he's in. It's hard to probably make more than $6 an hour in security, and so he probably just hasn't, been able to acquire anything to go to that next step.
Yeah, that's true too. But then that was just my question, because being there so long, I would think, he would at least be stable now.
Oh, geez, I'm pleased. Somebody said Murray can't invest because Murray has 11 teen children to support at home.
Okay, there we go. Bye-bye.
They say, I know Murray.
Okay,
kaboom,
there we go.
kaboom,
Okay,
kaboom.
there we go. Okay.
That
All
answers
right,
that
thank
question.
you.
I mean.
Thank you. Okay.
Lord have mercy. Y'all not easy. Where's my kaboom? What? Wait a minute. Where's my kaboom button? Where's my kaboom button? I think Hold on here now. What show is this? The Cold Hard Truth. Oh my Lord. I don't want to be messing with no buttons now, you know. Y'all notice today we've been good. We changed out a cable last night. I tell y'all, I thought it was the cable. Oh my, this profile doesn't have my kaboom button. I gotta get it back. Anyway, yes, honey child. There you go. Somebody say they know him. They work in the school system. What a hot mess. Lavana says, so what if everyone that is due to roll over does this? I'm just going to let them stay here? ? Let him share his skills, says Monique. Miss Marjorie, good morning, says the reason I agree they keep Mr. Murray is because he will only be replaced with another expat. No Cayman will get that job. Let's wait and see. Well, to be very, very clear here, folks, the position, which is security guard, we don't know very many Caymanians who are going to work security guard jobs, especially for companies who are going to just pay you minimum wage. I mean, let's be honest with that. I want to get back to the court discussion, but please vote. No, he went down and rolled over to spend time with his daughter. He has 2 girls, says Allison. Susan says, good morning, Sandra, and to the beautiful Cayman Islands. It's a real pleasure to vote for Mr. Murray to remain at John Gray High School. I have knowing Mr. Murray for many years while my daughters and son attend John Gray High School. And many days he kept them in line for me when I was not there to do so. So I say heads up to Mr. Murray this morning, and I wish him all the success, and I wish him the best, and I pray that these governments will retain him at John Gray High School. Live says if they do it for one, they must do it for all. Aliana says, wait, what you say? Moya says, good question, caller. He should have applied for permanent residency. If not, he should not be exempt from the rollover process. And I'm sure he has already gone through a rollover process. What makes this time different? Having said that, that's one of the reasons a lot of people try to get into a government job is because they know that there is no rollover in government. Speaking of the courts, when they changed over last year, they made a change where they now have their own security detail, their own officers. So they're no longer using a security company, but the security company that they had been using lost a lot of their staff to the court office. They're now basically, I think they fall under like an element of police, but just for the courts, because the court said we need our own security. And so they poached them from the security officers who had already been working there in that environment for, the positions. Ms. Brenda says maybe because he's not working in the white collar category, he didn't or doesn't qualify. Maybe the best option based on his valuable contributions, the government should hire him. Live says, ouch. Akina says, does that mean that all those kids are coming soon as well? Strong Wilt says, hi, Sandy. Kisses go by favorites. Is it favorites or favors? I thought the saying is kisses go by favors, but maybe it's favorites too. I don't know. I know a security officer who was working with a security company. He was rolled over, went to Jamaica, quit his job, and A.L. Thompson's hired him, and he's still working in Jamaica for A.L. Thompson's now. A.L. Thompson's is in Jamaica? That's the part of this story that I'm finding confusing. He's back from rollover and working with A.L. Thompson's. Tell me if they couldn't find a Cayman in for the job. This is so wrong. I mean, I don't necessarily know that there are a lot of Caymanians knocking on doors for security jobs. So I don't know. Gabriella says they should try applying for PR for him instead of worrying about rollover. Denver, good morning, says caller, there's some quality people in our islands that just want to be here and work here that have no desire to have PR or status. Well, then they have to know that they're subject to rollover. Simple as that. Rough Season says, I know one thing. If I was to become a security guard in high school, they'd have to give me a taser and a baton. Miss Susan said Mr. Murray's personal business has nothing to do with what is happening to him this morning of his permit, and it does not stop him to perform in his Judas, I think he meant job, at John Gray High School. His personal business is not the issue. He has done well over the years, and he has been in John Gray High School. So to hear that the comments about the man, I think the comment, Susan, was simply because the question was asked, why hasn't he applied for PR? And the response that the person who's listening, who is in the schools, says he can't invest because there is normally an investment requirement to get points for PR. They said he can't invest because he has 4 to 11 children to support at home. That's the only point that they were making. So, they're given a reason to answer the question. All right. Morning, Keisha. It is kisses go by favors, right? I didn't think it was favorites, but there you go. Miss Pat says there's another Mr. Murray. He's an excellent counselor and the founder of Boys to Men. Yeah, that's a different Mr. Murray. He's actually a counselor and teacher. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy. First of all, I'm anxiously waiting for you to talk about the judiciary.
Yes.
Maybe I might have something to say about that. But having said that, I'm also interested in what you're talking about now. So I just thought I should chime in with a short call.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you see, with a lot of these are personal things, right?
Mm-hmm.
This person clearly is very, very popular. When you can get people from the teacher side
Mm-hmm.
to a former student, saying, look, this guy is special. And there are just people who are special like that. And sometimes you hate the law to apply to them. But you see, having worked in government, advised on the law and the policy and so on, the problem that we usually had with cases such as this one
Mm-hmm.
is that you have to craft a rule.
Mm-hmm.
You have to craft a rule which is going to apply across the board. Sometimes that rule might have exceptions,
Yes.
but you want the exceptions also to be clearly defined, not just because other people like you. Because one, it's unfair if you are going to say, well, this guy is nice, the people like him, the other guy, they didn't like him, so he has to go. You have to be able to say, on the basis of these criteria, he qualified. And that's where I see the problem here. And then also you could wind up with a legal problem. You see, you studied administrative law. There's a principle known as legitimate expectation.
Mm-hmm.
There are cases where if you establish a policy, like let us imagine here, they say, well, because there's been a petition of people and they like him, and therefore it was decided that he should stay. The next person who is rolled over will also go there and say, well, I have a legitimate expectation. Clearly, I'm also popular. Then it becomes a problem.
Yes.
And I think that's where the problem is. So
Yes.
I don't want to say they should or they shouldn't do it, but just to define that this is the problem public authorities sometimes have. I thought I should chime in on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank
That's
you.
a good point. I appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Yes. And that's a very fair and good point. Of course, that's the lawyer speaking. And I completely understand what he says. And I think a lot of you are getting the point in layman's terms when you say, well, if we do it for him, are we then prepared to do it for everybody else as well? Because there is an expectation of fair application of the law across the board. So, you can't have partial application. That just doesn't work. So yes, I get the point. And I think that, remember when the rollover was actually introduced, there was a lot of people who were like, oh, well, yeah, I'm all for the rollover, but not for my helper because I need her. She's special. Well, everybody's special to you when you need them. But, if we say, generally speaking, that this is a policy that's good for the people of the Cayman Islands to have people roll over. And the whole point of the rollover is so that people don't have again, throwing out a legal term there, a legitimate expectation of being able to acquire status because of the length of time that they've been here. Because that's the thing. Y'all like, no, we don't want anybody else getting status. So we want them to go through a very limited scope, right? To be able to get to PR and eventually status and blah, blah, blah. Of course, that led to the rise in all these fake marriages and that sort of thing as well. But it was good for the goose. It was good for the gander. Is another question. So Natasha asked, Can he even afford to retire in Cayman? Will he become another NAU recipient? As realistically, Cayman is very expensive to retire. And will he become a burden later, including his dependents? Susan says, yes, they're making a point that he has so many children at home. What I'm saying is this is what's happening in this country today. We're turning around when we have a good thing, we're there criticizing it. Well, I think that people are looking at the picture holistically. So it is a fair question, because if he gets PR and then he gets the status, he then has a right. If he has 11 teen children, he has a right in law to bring his 11 teen children with him. So you can't just think about him in his singular capacity. You've got to expand the scope of, what is his future? And if you're happy to bring him and his 11 teen children, and then you're happy to make those exceptions for everybody that you like and that is a good worker or a phenomenal worker like Mr. Murray, then let's just say that that's what it's going to be. Let's not beat around the bush. You can't have your cake and eat it too. That's all I'm saying. So if that's what you want, then that's what you want. But don't complain when you have somebody else now in that position. And you start crying, but no, we got too many here now. We don't. What's the difference? There is a sense of equality that should, bring some balance to the conversation. Brenda says that rollover clause, when introduced, had an exception clause. This is to be done all the time for a certain category of people, even when they don't deserve it. Well, it was introduced later on because people were complaining that no, you can't get rid of my helper who works with my special need kid, because that's a very different kind of relationship and situation. And it's not easy to find people in those jobs to begin with. And if you've had someone who's been with a special needs child, for example, for the past 5 or 7 years, it is very, very difficult to introduce a complete stranger back into that child's life. But like I said, you also have to consider that, life will throw you a curveball. How many people have had the best helper in the world and they go back to Jamaica and they get sick, they get COVID, they drop down dead, they have a heart attack, they get shot, whatever. Something happens to them, their parents get sick, they can't come back home. These things happen. And so you have to appreciate that there's no such thing as someone who's not replaceable. Somebody says, I've just voted no. Another person says he doesn't even have Cayman contributions. Time for him to go and spend some time with his family. What a hot mess. Morning, caller.
Yeah, sounding me again.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, when you think about it, if the German Nazis would have been peaceful, this is how it would be. I think that the situation that's going on, right? It should be that we all help each other this way. So if I was to make a decision and I like that idea and no one else likes it, but it's working, does it matter if you like it or not? Right, because I believe if we do have a collective amount of people that have positions on this island that respect the island regardless of which nationality they are, they're very important here. And if they feel like they want to make a family here, hey, if we can grow good breed, that would be great for this island. Because we have a lot of bad breeds here. And that's, I'm not discriminating anything, but there's a lot of people on this island that only know how to take and not to give.
Okay.
Now, if we do have a Christian community like we do have here on this island, we have how much churches? About 300 maybe. And if you think about it, how the government is made, if they're all Christian-based communities, why are we treating each other evil? Think about that. Is it a cult? Because my ideas don't fit yours? Right? How are we supposed to be a diverse country if we can't even live as an island?
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Sandy, what I'm trying to say, right, is Juliana O'Connor Connolly is the best listener in the Cayman Islands. Right?
Yeah. Hello.
Right? And if she is the best listener in the Cayman Islands, why isn't she?
One second, Mr. Murray. We just finished up another call. Yes, Alejandro.
Yeah, why isn't she communicating with us? Is she listening or is she just hearing us?
Well, let me be clear. Just because she won an award for woman listener does not mean that she is the best listener. There's a difference. So what happened is she won an award.
Right.
Yeah.
Self-praise. You know, when you start praising yourself,
let's leave
just as close to the devil.
Let's leave it there, my dear.
Just as close to the devil as it can be. I'm sorry, but I respect her. She's one of the elders. The elders, not my elder though.
Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me run through. Oh, Lord have mercy. So somebody says that he only has one daughter and she's in New York and she's a big child now. Somebody said, well, that's not what he told me. I bucked Murray when he was reposted in Hurley's and we were catching up, and he has a grown daughter in New York, but he also has other children in Jamaica. So, I mean, it would make sense why he hasn't invested, just going off of what he told me. If he was lying to me, then one would have to wonder, why would he lie? So, I mean, hot tamales. So this person says he's making less than $1,000 every 2 weeks and being supportive to his 2 daughters and son. What a hot mess. So the suggestion is that he works for national security now and government should take over his contract. Anyway, vote in the poll, folks. Moya says we should not be making more loopholes in our laws. Loopholes is one of the major issues that our courts are facing now. Let's get back to the courts. All right. So a couple really, really important announcements that were made yesterday that I think are certainly worth sharing with you guys. So I've got some videos here and I do want to share these with you. First of all, there was the announcement that JPs, their justices of the peace, will be trained, and they have already been doing training to be able to now perform duties limited function as magistrates, including like traffic, which traffic offenses tend to be pretty straightforward. Usually they're strict liability offenses, and either you did it or you didn't kind of thing, right? So let's have a look and listen to this video on this accomplishment.
Reintroduction of JPs in the summary court. That was another one of our strategic priorities. I'm happy to say we are well on the way. And if you look to my right and against that wall, we have the largest part of the JP cohort. That is a pilot group for sitting in the summary court. We have been seeking to identify the best sort of training to equip them for their roles. They have had a course of familiarization with the courts and court process, first observing proceedings from the gallery and then from the bench. And I'm happy to report none of them observed proceedings from the dock. This is always reassuring. The magistrates have devoted a lot of time mentoring the JPs. I did not pass on to the magistrates all the expressions of gratitude I received, so I do so now publicly. In 2024, justices of the peace sitting in a summary court will become a reality. They will be deployed in a traffic court, which will relieve the magistrates of a significant amount of their current caseload. We will need additional court space because we are talking about return days of 100 or 120 people. It cannot be accommodated in the courts that we have now, except for Court 5, when the FSC is not sitting. The DPP very kindly offered to help with designing and delivering, in conjunction with the courts, some mock trials and role plays. He looks slightly surprised. If he didn't offer, I'm sure he will now. And training in this regard will continue for the first half of 2024.
All right, so this is interesting. She said the reintroduction, because it's something apparently that they used to do. That was before my time, I guess, being interested in what's happening in the courts. It's not uncommon, actually, in a number of jurisdictions that this is the case. Even in Jamaica, for example, they do have chief magistrates who, not chief magistrates, my apologies, JPs, who are an integral part of the summary court system, and they act as like acting magistrates and stuff like that. It helps to alleviate some of the issues there. So YouTuber says, was Mr. Murray trying to call on the show? That was a different Mr. Murray, but he was trying to speak to me privately. So I'll speak to him off air. So that's one of the big things that's being rolled out in 2024. I can see that this show is going to go into the discussion of the court, and some of the changes will flow over to tomorrow's show because we've only got 15 minutes left in today's program. I see some rain outside. Let's get an update now on family court. And this is quite interesting because apparently a number of, well, I'll have you listen to what the Chief Justice said, and then we can discuss it.
Family Division, Richard, sorry, as Mr. Justice Williams to you. Mr. Justice Williams has reported to me that it's another extremely busy year. 355 new files are opened. It is clear to me from the report prepared by my learned brother that the prospect for marriage in the Cayman Islands.
Hello, caller.
Sandra?
Mm-hmm.
You know, a thought just occurred to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know those shows like Judge Judy and, like the People's Court and things? Some of them are not real judges. Those are like lawyers or people who agree to binding arbitration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why you don't put on a show of your own?
Lord have mercy. You don't think I have enough? You don't think I have enough to do? Ma Road Court. We're in the court of public opinion. Do you not know this already?
See it title there already. There you go. You're already halfway there. Come on, Sandra. I would view that.
You guys would agree to binding arbitration? Oh, that's funny though. That is funny. Court is now in session. Hey, you know what? I already have my gavel and everything. Listen to me.
There you go.
We ready? Put on my little wig. Which, by the way, in summary court, they don't have to wear wigs, so we don't necessarily have to wear a wig. But thank you, caller.
Yeah, ma'am.
All right, folks. That is funny. Binding arbitration. I mean, I got my gavel and everything right here. All right, folks. Decision made, honey child. That is so funny. All right, let's continue to hear what the Chief Justice said about family court. Siobhan said, Lord have mercy.
Means grim. He advises me that 200 certificates of dissolution were granted, up from 251. I did have a gander at a website where I could find out the number of marriages, and they seem to be holding steady at around 670 per annum. So we're not quite half yet. But I will say this, and as an aside, that according to one online aggregator, Cayman had the 5th, Parson, you listening? Cayman had the 5th highest divorce rate in the world. Russia was number 1, and the USA was number 6. But Governor, we can't believe anything we read online. So I'm not raising the alarm yet, but that's just a report from one online aggregator. I think the people have woken up again. The statistics show, however, that a number of family matters remain before the court awaiting resolution, and this has been driven in large part by an unusual number of contested hearings of unusual length. And although my sisters, Richards and Carter, and I must say they're not my sisters, much in the way of Masons, or perhaps that's a bad analogy, we refer to each other as brother and sister. So my sisters, Richards and Carter, and I all assist in the family division. The truth is that Justice Williams is the only permanent member of that court. And it may soon be time to consider adding capacity to that division as well. The number of matters that remain before the court awaiting resolution is concerning not only because it is the mission of the family division to assist people in ending their marriage in the most efficient and fair way possible, but also because we would like to do so with the least amount of conflict. No divorce should be a Pyrrhic victory from which both parties leave hopelessly scathed by the process. The court deplores a scorched earth approach to family litigation that sees the largest part of the marital estate eaten up by legal fees. Okay? If it is not for the sake of the parties, then it should at least be for the sake of their children, who are the ones who suffer the emotional fallout from a hostile and hard-fought divorce. So mediation has become an integral part of our family court procedures. And I want to speak to the mediation today because I think it shows the way forward. It is successful in that court, and it shows a way forward too for us in the civil court. But let me just speak to the mediation in the family court and pay tribute in particular to the mediator, Ms. Leslie Talbot. She has led mediation in the family court for the last 4 years. Leslie has proved an exceptionally well-skilled mediator whose mediated agreements have put many parents on a far better footing for long-term cooperation, both with respect to children and with respect to financial arrangements. She has helped numerous parties resolve what may have at first glance appeared to be irreconcilable disputes. She has an outstanding success rate in assisting parents with reaching acceptable agreements. And my learned brother reports that mediation was able to achieve 104 fully settled cases, and only 11 remain partially settled. And we consider those will be settled before the end of the first quarter. Many of you here, and I'm looking at Mr. McGrath, one of our acting magistrates, many of you here have worked with Leslie, with counsel, in the mediation process and can speak to the value of mediation in court proceedings and speak particularly to Leslie's.
All right, folks. So couple of things. Oh, sorry.
Attributes that have contributed, I think, in the greatest part to the success of the program. And I say that because I have to announce that Leslie is retiring this year. And while we know normally, as I said, note retirements at the opening ceremony after they have taken place, she has been so exceptional, and her contribution, my brother says, to the family vision, so extraordinary that I feel compelled to take the opportunity today to recognize her, even if I have to do it again next year after she has retired. The work she has done and the contribution she has made to the courts and to the families that she has helped through what is, if you've been divorced, a difficult period of transition has been exceptional, and we want to say thank you and that she will be missed. I then take the opportunity now, riding on that, to welcome Ms. Chanda Glidden, who will be succeeding Leslie as a family mediator. And we are confident she will not only build on Leslie's legacy, no pressure, Chanda, but develop her own, as she too is a highly skilled mediator who has already been working with Leslie for some time.
All right. So some very, very interesting things there. I don't know who Miss Leslie is, but Jamila says Miss Leslie was amazing with my mediation. So congrats to her. She does seem to have quite an amazing record of helping people. You know, going through a divorce can't be the easiest thing in the world. Interesting that we supposedly have we're on the list for the 5th highest divorces in the entire world. I don't quite know about that, but anyway, I mean, I think the U.S. is about 50-50 with their divorces, so we'll see, honey child. But what I would say is that we need a lot of family premarital counseling before we even get to that stage, because maybe some of these marriages could be avoided. And then if you avoid the marriage, you avoid the divorce. So that's how that works. But you know, it's interesting. Justice Williams being one of the few or the only permanent person in the family court segment. So she's saying that now it might be time to look at additional capacity as it relates to, you know, the family division, because they're not going down, I suppose, in number. You know, seems to be going up, and we have to anticipate the increase as more and more people, I suppose, are here. Some of these divorces can be extremely complex and so forth as well. Big announcement there, in case you missed it towards the end. She said that Shanda Glidden, who is, I think she's an attorney as well as she's a life coach and other staff member. She was over at Rooster. She was the last host that they had over there for their talk. What was it called again? What was the show called? Oh gosh. What was the talk show called again? Anyway, you know which one I'm talking about, over in Rooster. So she was the last person to have hosted that. And then once they shut that down, but I do know she has her own life coach business that she was doing for a while. And she has been doing mediation. And she's actually apparently been training under this Miss Leslie. So she is now crosstalk. Thank you, John and Belika. Could not remember it. So she has been training under Miss Leslie with a view to actually taking that role on. So that's good, K-Manion. We're going to wrap up here. We got about 4 minutes left in the program. And there is something that I want to say. Tomorrow, we want to talk about the performance-based. She talked about performance-based budget. I wish government would understand what a performance-based budget means. The power of the purse. They've got a new communications officer. There really is quite a bit administratively organizing the courts and stuff that Margaret Ramsey has now done. And so let me say this. I think that when you have, and no shade to her predecessor who was there for at least 20 something years, but when you have a woman who is capable, intelligent, hardworking, has gone through the ropes, has put in the groundwork, has done what she needs to do to be where she is, this can be a very, very powerful asset to organizations and to countries, right? So notice all the caveats that I put in there beforehand. You can't be entitled and just jump up like some of these MPs and just want a job and like, oh, people must just give me something. That's not what I'm talking about here. You've done the time, you've done the work, you put in, you've gotten the experience, et cetera, et cetera. Having her in this leadership position has already netted, I think, the courts a lot of real positive changes and benefits. And so we see things administratively happening. We see a move to make, court files and documents a little bit more accessible online. You know, they're going to have a social media presence. They've hired a communications officer. They're doing quite a bit. Training JPs. Somebody said that, in fact, JPs previously used to work in the juvenile courts and help with that. So yes, caller.
I know, Sandy, you're about to sign off, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting that they want to allow JPs to sit more or less as magistrates. I think in other places they are called lay magistrates. Mm-hmm. Very interesting in the sense that when I came to Cayman, I thought it was very advanced in that everybody in legal jobs was lawyers, mm-hmm. because when I went to law school more than 40 years ago, in England, they were still doing this, but people in England were against it. Mm-hmm. But I found that in Ontario they have justices of the peace who are not lawyers who still sit in Ontario. Mm-hmm. 2 years ago, they appointed about 44 justices of the peace, and the majority of those were not lawyers. So that's good. Mm. But I think what they need to think about as well is whether paralegals can now be allowed also to appear before the justices of the peace. Because I know a lot of paralegals who used to be in the judiciary. They know how to do a lot of things, but they can't be licensed to be able to go to court. I think that will be very well complement that as well, but that I can develop another time. But finally, about family matters also, and I agree with you, by the way, that the Cayman judiciary has done a lot on the administrative side. I've got a problem with the accountability side, but that's a discussion for another time. One little point, the last one on the family matters. Another thing that could help in addition to mediation is in Ontario, they have a mandatory program. When you file a divorce and the other person answers, both of you are supposed to go for a session. This is not mediation. This is like a classroom thing where they bring social workers and lawyers who will tell you to temper your expectations and give you a little bit of the law, because it helps you to start now sort of being soft enough to be able to meet mediation. A mandatory program, which is a kind of a seminar for about 2 hours. I should just leave it there, but those are some of the things that could also be done. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much. So the conversation continues tomorrow, folks, 7:30 a.m. Please tune in. I saw some comments come in relation to things earlier in the show. I'll read some of those. I think, these are not discussions that we have sort of in silo and we just forget about it and move on. This is an ongoing discussion. Somebody says Chief Ramsey is a goat. Another person says, proud of Miss Ramsey. She even provided the objectives she achieved, also compared to the ones before. So lots of work to be done in the judiciary, but I think she's off to a good start. And we will certainly be keeping an eye on it. So tomorrow we'll talk about a few additional things in relation to that. We'll also talk about scammers, because we are back in full swing for 2024. And of course, Fridays tends to be our Consumer Friday day. So if you've got a problem, WhatsApp us, message us, and we're going to try to help you guys out with those issues as well. Okay, good people. Have a fantastic day. We will catch you tomorrow.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.